Okay, call this meeting to order. Council work session, Wednesday, June 6th, 1 p.m. Open for visitor comments. Come on up.
My name is Nancy Whitney.
Can you speak into the microphone, Nancy? Or even if you have
My
to.
mouth is big enough, I don't know, but I'll be glad to. My name is Nancy Whitney, and I have a difference of opinion with the city of St. Helens, and I brought some information to pass out to all of you, and I know I will get an answer today, but I would like you to look it over and see what I am. Oh, John already knows.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. But, you know, I have, yes, and you're welcome to that. And the 2 copies of request, I'm sure you can get.
Okay, thank you. Other visitor comments? Hold on. Go ahead, Les.
You sure?
Yep.
So I'm Les Waters, and I'm here today on behalf of the museum. And I wanted to hand these out. I don't know if you want me to carry this with me or.
No, you can just hand them out.
Okay. So I want to talk about this project that we've been working on for a long time. We worked with the city at one point to try and get a grant that was declined, so we went ahead and did it ourselves. And it's essentially a walking tour of historic downtown that is GPS. Sure. If I can get it loose. How's that? So I want you to be able to see that. So this is designed really to work on your smartphone. So I don't know if you want to turn your phone on and try scanning this and you can see the real experience. But in 5 minutes, if you want me to help you another time, I'm happy to do that. So it will take you to this web page here. And if you scroll, can you scroll down just a little bit? You'll see that farther down, I hope. Keep going. Okay, this is based on the National Historic District in 1984 that made the downtown area part of the National Register. It was a big effort. I don't know how much you know about that, but it was a big deal.
What year was it again?
1984.
Okay, 1984.
Right. And there were oral histories collected, which we just got from you a couple months ago or so, and we've digitized all of those and have them available for people to listen to, and we're ready to transcribe them. So some of that information is going to go in here. So this is the opening statement. I would recommend anybody that has anything to do with St. Helens read this. It'll take you less than 5 minutes. Will be very enlightening as far as what went on downtown architecturally, historically. It's just an overview. So then each property in the report I took and copied and pasted to each property. So if you can go back to the map. So if you want to click on any of those, for example, City Hall, if you're on your phone, it'll look a little different than this, but it will have what was written in the national documents that were submitted for the register, as well as information that we've found about those properties or stories about the people that live there. It includes pictures. I think there's like 5 or 6 pictures associated with this one that shows the addition and the original building. The reason I'm telling you about this today is that I've been working on this for a long time. It's not finished. You'll see it says beta here because there's a lot more to do and there are errors in there, but I'm thinking the best way to help us along with this is to get the public and other people involved to give us good, solid feedback. On some cases, I think we have some really interesting stories, others we don't. A lot of them, it's just the architectural description that's in there. We're going to offer this to some of our members to walk around and see how it works in real time. So I thought, let you know that we're going to do that. If you see people around holding their phones or whatever, that might be what it's about.
It's not Pokemon.
It could be, if it's that boring, but it's a similar thing where you see people with their heads down. So what we wanted to do, or what I wanted to do with this project, was to give a little bit of personality to the properties as well. And some of the businesses, we have pictures of what businesses were in there before, or how, something happened in a certain era. We have some interior shots in some cases. We hope to get more, and eventually just continue this. So it's free to anybody that wants to use it. And it is also accessible through our website as a tab. Also, depending on your phone, if you have an iPhone, you just look at it with your camera open and up it pops. If you're in the right place, you can actually get a street view today. Your little GPS blue thing is right where you're standing, so you've got the right property. Mm-hmm. So we're anxious to see what reaction we get, but we think it might be a good way to engage younger people in history of the community, of which there's a lot embodied in this historic district. So that's what I wanted to share with everybody.
Les, again, what are your hours there at the museum?
Wednesdays and Thursdays, noon till 4.
Okay.
And if there's a particular time somebody needs to come in, they can contact through the website, and we'll try and arrange it, especially for groups or things like that.
Okay, good to know.
Right. And just one last note, we have been getting a lot of cooperation from the city on getting some of this stuff together, and we do appreciate that, and we hope that will continue.
Great. I'm glad staff's been helpful.
Okay.
Yep.
No other? Okay. Thanks.
So Les,
Yes.
does that mean taking off my little sticky note that says if I run into the oral history, let you know?
Yes,
you
it
got
does.
them.
You hadn't heard that.
No, I didn't know.
They found them when they were doing some clean out, and there were 23 of them.
Okay, good.
And one of them was over 2 hours. Most were in the 40-minute
On
neighborhood.
cassette?
On cassette.
Oh, good.
I've
Okay.
digitized. Some of them are very poor quality, but some of them have some really great stories about getting on the Swan, the dance barge downtown, and floating up and down the river
Really?
to a band and stuff like that. Yeah. Just stories and things that I didn't know, like where the old St. Helens Ice and Beverage building is right there.
Uh-huh.
That was originally a miniature golf thing. It wasn't built for that. So little things, that's what they tell us in the stories. We haven't necessarily verified it, but we can put it out there as an oral recollection or that sort of thing. So it's kind of fun.
Did
Really
you
is.
get to go through some of the tapes that were left from public access television that we had in storage?
Well,
Because,
what a job that is.
because one of them involved a number of, a couple of retired judges and some very interesting material. It was an interview. That I
we
hope
have
you find.
we have sorted through all of them that were there and taken those that we thought might have historic value.
Mhm.
There were a great number of them that were routinely sent to the local public access, whatever it was called at the time, military promotions, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So we
this
didn't.
this was interviews. It was
Right.
held up at the old courthouse, and I was there, but I don't.
Well, we have found a number of really great things, but we haven't gotten through them at all. And the equipment is a problem for us now, too, because they don't make VCR players.
Mm-mm.
And so, I've been finding them here and there and trying to figure out how to digitize and watch. But the tapes are in bad shape. And I've talked to the Oregon Historical Society about ways that we can salvage them. So there's a lot of work to do there. But there was one interview with Don Callbearer, and that's been digitized, and that's accessible through our website.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Les.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the hard work over there. Robert, you want to come up? You still got to state your name, even though I know you. Come on up. Yeah, you got to come all the way up.
Yeah, my name's Robert Shadley. I live in Columbia City, but the question I have for somebody here is who gives permission to your surveyors to cross private land? I had a young fella, his name Jason Courtney, and he works for KE Excavating. And as I drove up my driveway one morning, I could see him walking across my road on the backside of my property, and I stopped him, and I asked him who had given permission to be on. Well, he said nobody had. Him and I talked for a little bit. I was kind of concerned. I know him from nobody. I've got nothing up there that I'm gonna try to hide from anybody or anything like that. All I ask is somebody ask permission. All right, that was about, I'm guessing, somewhere right around the 1st of May. 2 weeks later, I get to my gate, it's locked, and there's a note on it. Well, I don't read the note right away. I drive on out to the barn, and I'll be damned if when I got up there, the young man was standing out in my trees. Same man. And him and I had had a discussion 2 weeks earlier. Who has given you permission? I can't go on somebody else's property when I'm hunting, whether there's a fence there or not. I can't cross that boundary. I mean, I could have my gun taken away. I could have my vehicle taken away, my license for who knows how long. But here's this fella, 2 weeks apart, and he's the same guy on my property. And I'd like to know who in the heck gives these guys permission to cross that line. Definite fence there. He knew where the line was. But that is my concern. I don't like people crossing my property. If they call me, I got no problem with it. I'll meet you at the gate and come on in. But just showing up after I've talked to the fella.
So the issue here, because I talked to Robert a little bit, is that he was even deeper into the property. It wasn't even on the line. He was actually.
So state law allows surveyors to go onto private property. They don't have to get permission from the property owner. So that's something that the state regulates, not a city or a county.
Interesting. I never knew that.
So even though he works for the city of St. Helens, that law still pertains.
That's absolutely correct. We don't have any surveyors that work directly for the city. Surveyors may work for.
They're a contractor.
They could be a contractor.
Yes.
Yes.
KE Construction out of Salem.
Okay, and
Correct.
the city of St. Helens has not hired a contractor or a surveyor by that name? Oh, okay, for the tree farm?
Yeah.
So they were a contractor to a contractor for the city, so they didn't even contract directly with the city. But state law does allow that. So we have no control over what they do as far as receiving permission or not receiving permission.
I'm having a really tough time with that. Because I can't cross those boundaries.
That may be correct. So you can contact your state legislator.
So if you happen to be a surveyor and it's hunting season and you have your hunting license.
I don't
does
think
the rule
that
still
you can
apply?
cross for the purpose of hunting. It's in the purpose of the survey.
Well, as long as
It
you're
allows
hanging
that.
ribbon.
That's right. That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
Okay. I thank you very much.
Okay.
for-
I was shocked at that answer too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I guess I'll have to go up the chain.
yep.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes. Any other visitor comments?
Steve Topaz, St. Helens Street. I have 4 questions. I'll give you the questions quick and comments after. First question, are we going to have fireworks on the 4th? Second question, there's a rumor there's going to be a hotel on the waterfront. How much public access has been eliminated because of this supposed hotel? Third question, there's been an enlargement to the toxic harbor area in Portland. Is the city of St. Helens still planning on using our lagoon as a dump site? And 4, does anybody remember the whole tale of William Tell?
I'm unfamiliar with that.
The reason for the fireworks is once upon a time Jimmy Dillard used to have cans all over the town for collecting money. It did 2 things. One was it involved everybody in the fireworks, even though it was only a quarter. But the other thing, everybody knew about it. So that's the question, like, what's happening there? The rumor about the hotel, there's been a change again. on the framework plan, but one of the questions or requirements that everybody wanted was total access to the waterfront, and we're wondering if the hotel goes in there, will they eliminate some of that waterfront access? Lagoon, if we're gonna have a toxic waste head, you wanna put a hotel there. And we know, last time I asked, nobody had put cores down and know even if the property was okay. But there has been a major change in the harbor problem up in Portland. In fact, part of the harbor now has been tested and has produced data that we have pesticide problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Any other visitor comments? Okay, I would like to announce that we actually have a new city building official, Michael DeRoya. And just wanted to let everybody meet him, introduce it. You want to come up just so we could maybe get you on camera? This is the guy you'll see out and about, and went through an extensive process as far as looking for a building official, and he meets all the certs, and he's very young and lives in the area, and hopefully we'll be able to keep him for quite some time. So look forward to building a working relationship with you, and we had contractors, we had various pretty extensive board, Public Works, city planner, everybody that, and you were, you met all the qualifications, so welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, just wondering, are you going to root for Scappoose High School or St. Helens High School?
Smart man.
Beavers or ducks?
He's a smart man. Okay, so last chance. Any other visitor comments? Okay, semi-annual report. Columbia CCET. Chuck.
Michael, I hope to keep you busy, honestly. That's my job. Two. So I understand I've got 20 minutes, but you wanted me done by 1:20. So we'll do our best.
You got 3 minutes.
Okay. All right. I've got this organized in a way that I think is good. So we'll go through the St. Helens stuff first. Reauthorization of the South Columbia Enterprise Zone. John, did that get on an agenda for upcoming meeting?
It is.
Okay, good. What date is
It's
that?
on tonight. Yeah.
Tonight?
It's on for tonight's meeting.
Oh, okay. All right, so I'll be there for that. So good. So Scappoose is already approved. Columbia City's tomorrow, 13th for Columbia County and the Port of St. Helens. It's important. There's 66 enterprise zones in the state, and if we don't have one, we're just not going to be able to compete. So we have 3 enterprise zone applications that we're going to get to you tomorrow. One's for Composites Universal. They're relocated from Scappoose to St. Helens. It's really an unqualified success story. We've been working with them for a number of years, and they've really hit their market. They've hit their stride. They've got over $2 million in new investment with the port constructing a new building for them, and there's probably another building pending. So, they are doing a fabulous job. So if you see Steve Ruge, congratulate him, as well as the port. It's all new jobs, new markets, and they're expanding like crazy. We've got an application for an environmental biomass recovery program, which I'll submit tomorrow. It's a proposal for the site next to Dyna Nobel. It's potentially 100 jobs and $8 million in new investment. And then not for this board, but for the Lower Columbia Maritime Zone, Rainier Right Line is expanding. They're adding $2 million in new state-of-the-art CNC machines. And they're also working in collaboration with OMEC on R&D and training and machine optimization. So Armstrong, we've identified a potential purchaser for the site. We're working with the staff on additional marketing of the site and getting the site listed on Oregon Prospector, and there's a designated realtor for the Armstrong site. Armstrong did a great job transitioning for their employees. They went over and above really what was required and needed. And so it's a sad situation that's happened, but hopefully we can turn that industrial site into more jobs. The Callaway Building on Port Way in St. Helens is, we're still marketing that site. The property's listed on Oregon Prospector. There's a realtor has been identified. The company that's in there is going to keep operating until they get the site done. Planning for the St. Helens industrial site. So concerning the hospitality portion of it, we've met with some of the city consultants concerning the redevelopment efforts, the Embarcadero group and Sandra Storm. Sandra's father was there, Mark, in attendance. He was a city councilor in Cascade Locks when I was there. He and I both traveled to Sacramento to tour Nestle, so it was kind of cool seeing him again. And they wanted to know about other potential hotel developments in the county. There's really nothing seriously considered right now. There's some talk about Scappoose. I don't know. I think I don't know if it's going to happen. The market's here, obviously, for now. And then we met with Desiree Flannery, and she was interested in a couple of things. One, well, they both were interested in OMEC. They really wanted to know about OMEC and the potential for that. And they were also interested in the Regional Cooperative Tourism Program, which we discussed. On the industrial side, I think I'd like to work a little closer with the city on a plan. And there are a couple of things we've kind of suggested, and I think I want to bring it back up again. One is, I really think there should be an industrial economic development committee working for the city, designate the members of the city council, also interested community members. The city controls it. It has no real authority, but to really kind of get our arms around the opportunities and maybe some of the barriers for economic development in St. Helens. I know you've worked with John Jersey. He's come up with a list of kind of things that need to happen for property. We'd like to get identify and get currently marketable parcels that the city owns on the market as soon as we can. So I'd like to work with the city on setting something like that. Before I talk about I'll skip around a bit since we're short of time. I've hired an assistant. We interviewed 12 applicants. Most of them came through the Keep It Local Columbia County Job Fair that we had at Columbia City in April. All the interviews were done by myself, Mary MacArthur, and Karen Kenna Kolpak. Robert Blumberg from WANA participated. And we hired Willa Nigelsbach. She'll be working 20 hours a week, Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 1:30. And she's charged with organizing our meetings, updating and modernizing our website, increasing our social media presence, get a newsletter started, and help market CSET. She'll also be involved in our golf tourney and our October breakfast, as well as our annual meeting. So we're very excited to have Willa aboard. So I'd like to, if you want to come by, we're in your building in the library. We very much appreciate the site. It's a great price, and it's a good location for us. So she'll be working out of that office. I've announced to the board that I'll be retiring at the end of May 2019. Brian Little has been asked to kind of help us assist on the recruitment process. We're looking at a 2-month overlap. Our budget's provided for someone to come in a couple of months before I leave. We'd like to get the hiring process completed by March of 2019. We'll be circulating a job description for review soon. John certainly want the city involved in this process. I think, in my mind, the economic development experience is important, but all things being equal, I think we would like to favor a local resident who lives in the county who could do this job. I think that would be a really big addition. So, the Regional Cooperative Tourism Program. So John and I met with Mike Sykes, and we really, I think, come up with a path forward. We've figured out a way that we could develop a countywide cooperative tourism program. Thanks to Keith for coming and attending the commission meeting with the county commissioners. John and I have agreed we're going to issue a consulting contract. The tasks are going to include working with the local communities and particularly the private venue operators. I think that's the key for tourism to really work in the county. And then get private industry involved, as we've talked about. Update the existing plan, identify and engage stakeholders like the museum, and sell the plan. So I think we're moving ahead, and it seems like it's positive and constructive and collaborative. Yeah. OMEC. So OMEC is a reality. It's really happening. The only regret I have is I wish I was 10 years younger, because I would certainly like to be a part of this project. This is a transformational economic development initiative, and it's the largest thing I've ever participated in. And it is really happening. So we had our annual meeting on June 1st, last Friday, at OMEC. Susan Kant was in attendance. Doug, congratulations, you weren't there. You were elected the representative for the board again. As well as Keith is the alternative.
See what happens when you don't
So
attend?
our budget was approved. We had a great luncheon. We had the Infrastructure Finance Authority, State of Oregon there. It was important for them to come in and see what OMEC is doing. The port was there. The port manager was there, talked about additional funding for spec buildings. The location for spec buildings could easily be St. Helens as well as Scappoose. I think there's opportunities in both communities to build spec buildings. Congresswoman Bonamici was there. She talked about her support of a $3 million EDA application, which she said helped facilitate and apply for. They're still converting the old John Jersey building from a truck repair facility to a state-of-the-art research and development. I think it was pretty impressive what's happened with that building already. They've got a staff now. There's 7 people working in the building. They have an executive director, Craig Campbell. Craig is a graduate of the University of Oregon and the U of O Law School. He's a lobbyist. He has a lot of, by training, but he has a lot of private industry experience. And so he spoke about what he's doing there. And then Brad Witt, representative, really spoke about Betsy, and Betsy was able to generate $22 million in state investment in facilities. So this is the largest investment of any of the 16 R&D facilities that have been affiliated with Boeing around the world. So we're getting off to a really good start. Scott Parker's been working hard on the gravel pit. If you've been by and you've seen how much of the land has been filled, it's pretty incredible. So he's got a great business model. He gets paid for digging a hole and selling the rock, and then he gets paid for filling the hole, and then he gets paid for the land. So great business model. He's annexed most of the property into the city of Scappoose. They've partitioned the lots into taxable sites, and he's made an investment in utilities, water, electrical, and a sewer pumping station, which is not cheap. And they're working out an agreement with OSG on a new facility adjacent to it. Sylvia Kelly was there. She spoke. She's a vice president of Portland Community College, and she announced that they're close to an agreement with Ed Freeman on property for a PCC campus directly east of the Scappoose International Airport. So that's going to be a reality. Probably construction will begin sometime in 2019. There's an issue with the resolution of wetlands mitigation for the extension of Crown Celebrac Road, but they're working through those details. And they had a demonstration that this was the most exciting part of this whole thing for me was there's a $3 million 5-axis mill turn machine that's up and running. And it's unbelievable. It is incredible. It actually goes into 9 dimensions, which I can't even visualize. If you want a tour of the facility, let me know. I'd be happy to take any of the city councilors there, and you can see the operation itself. They'll be happy to start up the machine for you and show its capabilities. Susan, any comments on?
It was just incredible. It was very forward, very something I haven't seen in this community before.
It's
Looking
as
to the
big
future.
as a bus.
Huge.
And they've got it leased for 3 years, and the lease is free. It's part of the membership agreement that they have with the manufacturer of the equipment. And in 3 years, they're going to bring the latest technology there. So this is the machine that the kids that are going to be starting up in the training will be learning on. They'll be learning on the most modern equipment available.
If you're interested in technology or tools, you should take the tour.
Couple questions for you. One is the Enterprise Zone.
Yes.
For people that don't know what it is, And I'm fairly familiar with it. And how long has the enterprise zone been in effect in our area?
You were one of the first enterprise zones in the state, and it was St. Helens and Columbia City, I think, that were the. So maybe Doug can help me. Maybe 15 years. Is that about right? Maybe is it longer than that?
I'm thinking
Keith,
longer.
yeah,
I'm thinking
long
longer than
before
15
that.
years,
Yeah,
yeah.
It's renewed every 10
It was
years.
right after I came on, so yeah.
Okay.
Probably 16, 17 years.
And the way it works is,
So it's for industrial. It's not for commercial. It's not for residential. It is, and they have to meet. It's for existing businesses or new businesses that are located within very specific tax lots that are designated for enterprise zone. And what it does, it provides a temporary relief of ad valorem property taxes for a limited period of time, up to 5 years and 2 years of construction and process. And it is by far the most powerful tool we have for business recruitment and retention. They don't have anything like this in the state of Washington. There's no enterprise zone activity there. They don't pay income tax in Washington, so this kind of gives us at least equal footing in terms of competitive, and that's who we compete against. What is Washington? That when companies are looking to locate in this area, they're looking at Vancouver, Longview, Chehalis, or they're looking over on our side of the
sure. So I'm looking at the whole picture, and part of the deal is that for 3 years they give a tax break, and part of that does get kicked back to CSET.
So it's
A little bit.
Well, if it's so the way we've set it up is that there's an automatic 3-year application. That
Automatic, no matter what. Then you have the option for 2 more.
2 more years.
Yes.
And then according to the policy is that in order to qualify for the 2 years, they have to pay out an average of 150% of the average wage within the county. So that's right around 36,000. So their average wage has to be 150% of that for all their employees in order to qualify. If they're an existing business, they have to have at least 10% increase in employment, and then they have to sign an agreement where they'll go through the employment office and prefer hire for local residents.
Sure.
So that's what we get back, and then so we have what's called a betterment fund that is part of the agreement, where 10% of the tax savings is rebated back and shared 50-50 between CSED and the community where the investment's made.
Mm-hmm. So I guess where I'm confused is you said we should get a committee together for our industrial property, so I'm wondering where the enterprise zone, would it benefit us to have that area, especially in our urban renewal, where we need tax base. I'm looking at the whole picture, not just the small little bit, and this enterprise zone has been here for 18 years, and I've lived here for 45 years, and businesses are leaving, not coming.
So we wouldn't have got Pacific Stainless
Sure.
without the enterprise zone. And there's a list that I have in my office of companies that have located in the county. I mean, it is a transition thing, but address your initial question about enterprise zone versus urban.
Do you guys, I guess what I'm curious of is, you want us to put a committee together, is it because there's no manpower to bring it here?
Well, no. So the city of Scappoose has been working, we've been working with them, and
Absolutely. The
they-
OMIC is a huge deal.
Well-
$22 million is a lot of money.
So, and they've established an economic development committee a few years ago. I met with the city managers, when was that? 2 months ago. We talked in Klatsk and I about things that have been working and things that haven't been working. And one of them was the fact that there's a citizen committee that is led by the city in Scappoose has really helped in terms of setting direction. One of the things that came out of that discussion was the city is looking at a possible urban renewal district, and then we talked about how to coordinate an urban renewal district with an enterprise zone. So I guess, you know, to me, it's the dialogue, it's the discussion, it's the setting of priorities. That's the important part of a committee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, I mean, we don't have $22 million to throw on infrastructure. We had to go through urban renewal to get that, you know, and we wish we had those problems. but we don't. So we're stuck with what we're stuck with. So we've got to make the best educated decision that we can as a council on this enterprise zone. And I would really like to talk about this a little bit more before we actually went ahead with something. Personally, I didn't realize it was that fast. And get together with you, because I think there definitely does need to be some things that are ironed out before I feel comfortable enough in doing that. I don't know, John. I can see John's over here about ready to jump out of his seat.
No, not really jumping out of my seat. The difference between Scappoose boundary, how they designate just industrial properties, and the St. Helens, Columbia City swath that covers basically the entire city limits might be worth explaining. I think you touched on it, that certain properties,
So, yeah.
only certain properties can qualify, right? So,
Well, yeah, and so it was, when they established the district here, and this is a little nuanced point, is that they were kind of indifferent to the zoning, and when they set up the urban renewal district in St. Helens, they just made it contiguous with the city limits, and they did the same with Scappoose, or with Columbia City, even though there are tax lots within that district that don't qualify for enterprise zone. And we just haven't really had if I've always looked at that as a reserve that we could adjust later if we bumped up against the limit. I think it's 15 square miles of property that you can have within an enterprise zone, and we're close to that limit, but we're not over it. So we haven't had to come back and take off specific commercial or residential parcels within St. Helens. But I mean, that's just a technical thing.
Yeah, because we're pretty much our whole urban renewal is kind of in that zone.
Well, so, and it's a great question, so you only have so much tax money that's available from an enterprise, and some of it, so some of it gets rebated back through the enterprise zone to recruit the business, to get them to expand, to get them to locate here, and then that's for a short period of time, and then after that, then the urban renewal district kicks in, so it's a sequential timing thing.
Sure. Yeah. But we could also do that as a city ourselves. We could also forgive some tax and work incentive programs too. It's just something I have to sit here and think about, and I don't think I'm wrong. Correct me if I am.
So, so you're actually, so not only is it just the city taxes involved, it's all the overlapping districts as well. So when a company comes in and you approve an application, a 2-year extension on enterprise zone for that company, then you're not only investing the tax revenue the city would have used, but the county and the port and all the other overlapping districts. That all gets invested back into the company.
Yes. Yep. It's definitely a collaborated effort, but it's just something I would like to think about a little bit before. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
So we have until the end of June in order to.
We have one more meeting before that, so definitely we have the flexibility of doing that. Talking the meeting, so I don't know. Something I would like to do. We'll meet with you and maybe the county. Sounds like we have to have a collaborated effort just to make sure. We got to look out for us too, you know. And I see business leaving, Chuck. Lived here 45 years. We need industry here. Okay. Is there anything else did you have your report finished? I'm sorry to.
I put there's really nothing else in there that I would really want to cover. It's all in the. I think I've got through pretty much everything. Yeah.
Could I ask about the EnviroBio? What was that again? Describe it more.
Well, I will when I submit.
The garbage burner?
I will tomorrow when I submit the application.
Okay.
I've got. I don't want to disclose it tonight.
Okay.
So, but I'll submit the application tomorrow, and I'll have a little bio of what they're doing.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Chuck?
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Chuck. Okay, request to waive SDCs for Columbia County Self-Help Housing Project, Nina Reed. Hi.
Hi, I'm Nina Reed, and yes, can you fix the mic so that, oh, yes, certainly. All right, make sure you can hear me,
Yes.
Yes.
and just down like this. Oh, here, oh, yeah, okay, gotcha.
There you go.
Now use it.
I'm gonna talk loudly though, is this okay?
Yes.
Okay, so good afternoon. My name is Nina Reed, and I'm the president of Self Help Inc. I am partnered with Community Action Team, and without us together, along with the Columbia County Housing Authority, we help low-income families. We help those that are homeless. We provide the services for those. And the city has been absolutely fantastic in working with us to create this transitional housing piece for affordable housing over on 18th Street, where we're putting in 16 units of housing. What I'm requesting is that you could process or review our request to waive the SDC charges. Now, we're building the transitional housing building and also an office building next door, which is 8 offices that will be used and partnered with to help the services for the housing piece. So they're really married together, just like Self-Help is and Community Action Team. We need each other, and you know, we're mission-based, we're not profit-based. We are going to donate our land, which is approximately about $150,000 that we're putting into this project. It's a bare piece of property. We did have to remove one home to place the office building there. So we're putting quite a bit into this. We've already used about $90,000 worth of CAT staff, right, to bring this together. And also, Wanna Federal Credit Union is coming together with us to offer us loans. And in addition, the Oregon Housing OHCS, which is the LIFT program, is going to be loaning us $608,000 for this wonderful project. What's been happening is that over this year and a half that we have been working on this project, the building prices have gone up. And so that makes our budgets much higher. And we're trying to find ways that we can cut these as many costs as we can. And that's why we're asking you to see if you can help us. We know that homelessness and low-income families is going to be an issue for a long time here. We don't have a lot of facilities, but you do have us. You have CAT, you have Self-Help here, that when you do get a bigger issue for this city that we all want to take part in as a community, that you do have us as your partner too, to help build whatever we need to do. You may even donate land for us to take care of, facilitate this for you in the future. We don't know, but it definitely is a huge crisis right now. The SDC charges for the apartments are approximately $33,900, and the office building is $5,032. And so this is what we're asking for. Whatever you can give, we're grateful for. We'd love to have you help us get this on the ground, keep our costs down, and take that and move those monies to help us create more services to help our mission. Yeah, that's our mission. That's what I have.
Matt, do you have the exact amount of SDCs that
I was going to ask that question because I asked Heidi this morning and she said that the SDC and the paperwork that needed to be filed with the building permit was not filed. So she doesn't know how much the SDCs are.
Okay, I have, I thought we sent that in. Yeah, it is in the packet.
Oh, Heidi said it wasn't with.
It was sent with the packet and the letter.
And it was 33, and then there was another one for the office building.
5,032,
Office
so
building was
38,
yeah, and then we've got the.
almost
the
39.
apartment building, too. So it's 33.9 on one,
Mm-hmm, 5 on the other.
and
Is
about 5 on the other.
Is
So
that the
that's
number
what
that
we're
Heidi looked at and gave?
Anybody wanna take a look at this?
Because Heidi said she had not done a calculation. Okay, so it's not from our staff though.
No, it's not
But-
from our staff.
Okay.
And they did send me a copy to review, and it had already been included in the packet or had been submitted. And I just want the council to understand that the amounts that they have quoted in their request for waiver would actually likely be more once this sheet has actually been vetted out completely, because they did not include any transportation SDCs at all. The office building probably would not require those because they're not changing staff, they're just relocating existing staff, but the apartment buildings certainly would have some transportation trips associated with that. And they also included a credit for the one house. They included the credit on both of their calculations, so it's basically doubled. The credit is, which wouldn't be appropriate. So if you're considering waiving the fees will likely be more than what is requested. So I'm just cautioning, if you say, yes, we will waive the fee for $33,000 and it turns out to be $45,000, then.
Exactly. So after review,
So just so you're aware of
it,
that.
they may be a little higher. And again, also, Sue, I was also looking at the time and material too. That was a 0 there too.
Yeah, those are fees that won't be known. That's for the water connection fee. Sewer should be pretty straightforward.
Excuse me, storm.
And storm should be fairly straightforward because, those are 0 because I think they already have
So we do want you,
a tap there. But
either way, wherever this goes, if it goes higher or if it goes lower, we're asking you to waive it. Whatever it comes out to be, it could be $5,000 more. It could be $6,000 more, but we need your help, and we got to do this.
Yeah.
We just got to do this.
Something that jumped out at me right away, I don't know, the rest of the council, was half. I don't know how that works.
I'm going to have to excuse myself because
Yeah, 'cause
I'm
it's
chair
on
of the
the
CAB board, so
Okay.
my signature is probably going to be on this thing sooner or later.
Yes, yep.
I think it's important to note that although it says waive SDCs, that it doesn't. We can't really waive SDCs. It gets backfilled in some other manner.
Yeah, it comes out of somewhere.
Comes from somewhere else.
Yes.
From on the accounting side. We don't. We talk about it as waiving them. That they're not waived. Those accounts need to be made whole.
Right, and this is
That
more
you
of
don't
a
see. You don't
shared-
see that side of it. So, but it does
Yeah.
come from somewhere.
So this would be
And
an
this is
investment
more
on
of
our
a
part.
shared thing that we're going to be doing, because we've worked together for years at trying to keep
And
our
recently.
costs down. And in order to make this go, we have to keep our prices down, and that means our building costs. The building costs originally are 200 to 300,000 a unit. We've got ours down to about 90 to 91,000, but everybody's had to take part in giving, and that's where I'm asking you to consider that.
Sure.
It's
'Cause
really important.
When Sue was telling us that, it'll be a little bit more. It was 33 and 5, so if it's
So
a little bit more,
that's
so say
$38,000.
say
So it might be
$40,000.
42.
I'm just thinking even 40,000.
What'd
That's
you say?
half is $20,000. So that's
Well, we would
Okay, I
Just-
see this as an investment in low-income and affordable housing, which is something that is a dire need in our community.
It's
So
a
with
price.
this one and with the next one on the agenda, the waiving the SDCs for Habitat for Humanity home, I see it as something we should be partnering in.
You're going to need us forever.
Before you,
I think, before we go forward in deliberation, we'll have kind of an official deliberation amongst the council. I'd like to make certain that we have the full council here, and I would like to make certain that our finance director, Matt, gives us the financials on it. And so that could probably happen at our next meeting.
Yeah, I would like to go see how fast Heidi could do the calculations if I can get a copy of that sheet. Because Heidi, like I said, Heidi can do probably a better estimate so that you know more appropriately how much your.
I,
Our engineer did submit that.
Okay.
Doug Sircosta.
Anyway, my point is to have the staff have the ability to review this and report back to the council, and I suggest at our next meeting that we deliberate and come up with a final answer, rather than now.
Oh, absolutely. I want you to take time to process this and review this, because this is very critical to us.
Yeah.
We have very, very limited funds to do this. It's very, it's tight. It's extremely tight. Thank you.
Understand.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
Nina.
much.
Thank you. Yep. Okay, request to us waive SDDC charges for Habitat for Humanity home. Jennifer Anderson.
Yes.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
Yep.
Yeah. Bill Blank, Jennifer Anderson. I'm the executive director, and Bill is our development director. And so I'd like to talk about our new project. It's on North 7th Street. First of all, I'd really like to thank you for your past support. It's really been impressive. The support from the council at our groundbreaking ceremony, our wall raising, and even shopping in the Restore. Really appreciate it. So I wanted to share with you, I came across a study from 2016 that was done by Habitat of Oregon in partnership with Children First for Oregon. And they did a study on the impact of Habitat homes in the state of Oregon. And they came across some interesting statistics here they compiled. The graduation rate for children that are raised in Habitat homes is 92%. And 36% of the children go on to college. It has an impact on 58% of families report improved financial stability after moving to their Habitat home. And then the effect on health is pretty stunning also. I wasn't particularly surprised by these statistics because I worked with the applicants for the Habitat homes, and what I've seen from these applicants is that overcrowding is a major issue. They are basically homeless. They are living with family. They're living on air mattresses in other people's living rooms. They are just crammed into, large families crammed into wherever they can get, usually with support from family. They have problems with mold. So it's not surprising to me that this affects the education, the graduation rate. The children have a place to study. It must be impossible to study when you get home from school and you have no room to go to. You've got other chaos in the house. The mold affects their health. And so they also, 52% of families report improved school attendance, and 99% of children in Habitat homes report the same or better health. So I thought that was an interesting statistic. So our new project, this is on North 7th Street in St. Helens, is likely to be a family of 5, 3 children in the family. And we expect to have a great impact on their health and their education and their future and their hope for the future. So as in the past, we have asked for waivers of SDCs, and you've agreed to do that. So once again, we're asking if you will waive the SDCs for this home, which we expect to be about $14,000. That was the estimate from Heidi. Did you want to add anything?
Other than what you said, everything is true. We have always shown that the families.
Oh, sorry.
I can hear you, but
Yeah,
they can't
I
hear
know.
you.
These guys on the other side of us. No, everything that she says, I agree with, and I think that we have in the past, been good partners with you. And the main thing is, there's things that you don't even probably think of, but we also help with the economic development of the community as well. When we're building a house, we're using local contractors, we're using local people, we're doing other things too. So the fact is that for every dollar we spend building these homes, as well as we try to save the money on it, also comes back in other ways back into the community. So there's a lot of things that's probably not noticeable, but we like to focus on the good things, the family things, the warm and fuzzy things, but there are other things that help out the general communities in which we build. So I just want to point that out too.
Good experience for the volunteers too.
Absolutely.
It really is.
And I appreciate seeing someone like you out there too.
I'm going to agree with Susan on the last with the other self-help, that we are definitely, this is what where we've shifted our focus mainly on, is trying to get affordable housing in our area. So
definitely need for it.
Yeah, there's definitely a need for it. Keith, you don't sit on this board.
What's the address?
How did we miss him?
Whereabouts is that? How's that? Is that at the end of 7th?
This house?
Towards
the house that we're building will be what, the 9th one? So
towards the Red Apple end of the street.
the one we're building right now is
Oh.
by the Red Apple. The
Right.
next one,
The next one.
Yeah.
Okay.
and a small store on the corner,
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
half a block away.
Do you have the financials or paperwork for the amount requested for your SDCs?
That's about pretty close to ballpark, probably at that point.
We pretty much have been doing one a year, right? I know, I'm familiar with one
Yeah.
that we approved.
Right.
So one a year, basically.
Yeah. All the Sykes Road development, which did those, and then we went into 12th Street here. Now this
Yep.
one.
Yeah,
It's a great cause,
I know.
Yes.
And so is the other one.
but I think we can do probably the same as we're doing for the other one, is wait until Jenny's on board here, and then we can all vote on it.
Is she going to be here tonight?
Yeah,
Yeah,
can we
yeah.
get all that information tonight? Is it okay to put that on or is it too late, Kathy, to put it on tonight's meeting? Can we jump it over from this meeting?
Is this
Complications
time
like
sensitive to you? I mean, can you wait 2 weeks for an answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that'll help our staff out.
I could make a
That'll help
motion
us
right
out
now.
so that we have figures in front of us.
Yeah.
And yeah,
That's fine.
that's just the process, just from the process. And I think we all pretty much are in accord of the way we feel about our direction and what we're doing to help facilitate people in need.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think it's, apparently we just want to hear the numbers and,
I understand.
they're both great causes though. Are you time sensitive back there as well? You can shake your head yes or no. Are you guys time sensitive on you are. So they are. The community action is. They've actually tore down the old house and is chomping at the bit. So you can make it work?
For tonight?
Okay.
Let's do it tonight.
Let's do it tonight. We'll have an answer for you guys tonight.
Well, that would even be better.
Well, we'll have Councilor Carlson here too as well. So we'll have a full council tonight.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate your time again.
Yep. Okay. Discussion regarding Sand Island camping. Brad Hendrickson and Andrew Nemi.
usually approve it up to a certain amount, though.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
They,
I'm
Yeah,
Andrew Nemi and Brad Hendrickson. And I guess we're on the agenda again to talk about the Sand Island Campground. I don't think it really needs much of an introduction because we've all spoken about it previously. I do have a handout, if I could pass it around to each of you. It's basically just proposed lease conditions that we thought we'd throw out there to get the ball rolling. And I guess maybe I'd anticipate that you guys would review it and add items of your own that you felt were important.
Thanks.
forgot to keep one for yourself, didn't you?
Yeah. Don't want to fight Brad for that one. While you're scanning that, Brad and I decided, we've talked about different levels of startup as far as numbers of campsites go, and decided initially it would make the most sense just to start with the campsites that the city already has out there, because that's something that we could probably get up and running along with the shuttle yet this summer. And in walking out there, boy, Thad and the crew have done such a great job. We were actually pretty pleasantly surprised at how good a shape everything's in and how usable the sites are. It seems like the problem is there's no way to get out there, and they're not really being utilized. So we kind of felt like that would be the priority, is just to get the initial steps in place to, as soon as possible, to be able to start getting people out there that don't have boats.
So how many, so Mayor, if I could intervene, is this,
Sure.
is this looked at in, from your point of view, from running the meeting, that it's going to be a question answer kind of thing? And
Yeah.
as we move along?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So how many sites are there on Sand Island now that you're talking about that are already facilitating camping?
Well, according to the city's website, there's 37, and they're in various stages of usability. But one of the main reasons we thought that number made sense to start with is we've discussed this parking requirement, and of course it's not a real black and white easy issue to address, although it's very important. But it's our understanding that since there's 37 documented campsites currently, it would be anything beyond that would trigger additional parking requirements. And so our thinking was that we would really in good faith be willing to improve that parking area that we talked about between Brad's latest RV park expansion and Dillard's Moorage, where we figured we could get 8 parking spaces there. And so we figured if we were really just utilizing the 37 campsites that the city already has documented, really, in theory, those 8 parking spaces that we would build immediately would kind of be a bonus, just because parking's already tight down there, even though there is, in theory, already 37 campsites out there that, most likely people are, it's complex because people at one point could have been taking the shuttle, but now people would be taking a boat to get there. We figured there's going to be some sort of increased parking demand right away, so we propose improving those 8 spots. And, this is probably the trickiest part of the proposal moving forward, though, is addressing the parking issue. I don't know how the city really feels, other than the black and white aspect of adding a parking place for each campsite that's added moving forward. We'd be open, of course, to a condition of if a parking problem develops that's directly related to this, addressing it at the time, in addition to adding a spot for each campsite. But
I would imagine some of the camping would be boat camping, which has been happening in the past.
Sure.
Are you open to a top limit on the number of campsites to prevent overuse of this?
We can be. It's a huge island, Sue. It really is. I mean, there's a lot of room out there. I don't know last time you've been out there or whatever, but there's 40 acres. I mean, we walked through there and you didn't see, you wouldn't even see one campsite from another one for the most cases.
Which is a good thing, but
it's great.
that's what I'd like to see continue, that you can.
Yeah. No, there's, you want to utilize the space, but you
But
also
not
wanna have the big-
overuse it.
Exactly. But you want to have the big open areas, you want to have the whole, whatever, volleyball and horseshoes and flying kites on the
Room
ends
for
and
other
stuff like that.
activities.
Absolutely.
So what did you mean by clarification, boat camping? I've never heard.
People arriving on boats with tents.
Okay. So they're arriving on a boat.
They're
That's
arriving on a boat, pulling up and camping.
Okay. And so what about staying overnight on your boat on the moorage? Any problems there?
No, one of the conditions that we have included there is Sue had provided us with a copy of the chapter 8.28 regarding this
Got
use
it.
of the city docks, and we just figured we'd include
Yeah.
that along with the state of Oregon state parks.
I've
rules
seen
for the
that.
active
I've seen that in the number 11 down there.
But the question about overuse, though, it's another one of those tricky ones to manage, but important. And it's, I think, related in addition, not only to the number of campsites, but, one of the things we've talked about is it's, of course, a great venue for different events. And so, the
Having
use
a
of it from
balance.
an event standpoint, if the shuttle's in place, is, it almost seems like there has to be a way to deal with, to manage this in an evolving manner. Which,
Plus you want the correct uses for it. You don't want the vagrant kind of uses for the thing. You don't want, this is the other thing that's going to benefit our city and park and stuff like that, is having somebody out there to constantly watch what's going on the island and on our other city docks down here.
And I think in a contract that would need to be specified.
So can I give a reference to Neil and have Neil kind of weigh in on this if possible? And if you have this in front of you, if you have this document in front of you, probably one of the most interesting portions is number 3 is the maintenance issues. Do you have any kinds of maintenance concerns and any kinds of concerns with Public Works and Parks being involved in this partnership or this lease in any way?
No, I think it's a great idea, and it's going to be a big relief for our parks if they take over the maintenance. And, I think they're going to maintain it to the standards or better than what we've done. So,
and I know that
I'm all for it. I do have one question on number 5, and I think you guys know, and I'm all for giving the shuttle. I'd like to see it get used or get in, but you realize the motor's not.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not expecting the city to give you
No,
that in
no.
prime working order, right?
We were going to bring the shuttle working order. Yes.
Okay.
And then we
All
would
right.
change it.
I just wanted to clarify that, 'cause
Well,
I
this
hate
is
to
the
give
other
you
benefit.
give
good
you
looking
that.
out,
Thank
Neil.
you.
Good looking out. Yeah.
Yeah, would you please buy that $15,000
Yeah.
motor for me?
I'm just happy you're taking the boat.
So Neil, one other question for you. The bathrooms over there were redone not too long ago. Do you think they're going to hold up? No problem. I mean, I know it's pretty state of the art system.
Yeah, I
Again,
can't remember what they're rated for. Sue probably knows that better than I do 'cause she dealt with that. But yeah, I think they've really been working well. So
She's here now.
We haven't had any issues. Do you recall what the population use of the bathrooms are? The new ones?
No.
Okay.
That would be.
Okay.
That would,
We can get that.
That
answer.
would
yeah,
be a
that would be my.
determiner.
I think they are rated.
That would be my only concern over there.
And there's the third bathroom over there that is currently not being used at this point. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And they've talked down here about
Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
We'll get that one
Doing
working
that.
again, and there's a chance we have to add some more. I mean, that's a possibility, so. Yep.
Okay, tell me how you arrived at number 4. 10% of the net profit from the campground minus $5,200 annually.
Right now, you're receiving $1,500 annually from, I don't know who gives that to us?
Marine Board?
Marine Board, okay, for maintaining the restrooms and stuff like that, so we're
So-
just leasing the island we're hoping that money still keeps coming in from the Marine Board, so that would,
So that would still come through us.
through you guys, correct, yes, exactly. Because right
So-
now, you're spending $27,000 out on the island.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's what it's costing you annually, that was your guys' number.
I have questions about that, but yeah,
And then we're getting 5.
we'll say that.
Yeah, you're only getting $5,000 back. So
Yeah.
So what we're talking about is saving you that additional $22,000.
Yep.
So you say the 10% is less that amount.
Right. So let's say we're.
Why would it not be just besides that amount? That amount would be,
Well, the thinking there was that not only is the city being relieved of the maintenance expenses associated with the island, but actually seeing a share of the profits. And so it just seemed logical that if this thing grows to where, it is profitable, that the city should get a percentage of that. And so the thinking was that the city would get, as part of this lease agreement, 10% of the net profits. But then that $5,200 would be deducted from those proceeds. So, and these are all, of course, up for discussion. That was just a starting point. And then the other item B there was that any of the parking, let's say we end up adding another 50 parking spaces and decide that we've got to improve that area in First Street that was vacated to provide the additional parking. Our thinking was that if it was parking that was within the public right-of-way, in other words, public parking that benefited the public at large, that the city, by a reduction in the profits from the campground, would help pay for that parking. And what we threw out there as an initial discussion was half of it. And so basically this project, we're willing to pay for half of those improvements that benefit the public. Then the other half would come from the proceeds that would otherwise be paid to the city as part of that 10%.
yeah, I don't see that.
Staff have any comments on that?
Can
And you're probably looking at First Street, right? Correct
First
on
Street,
that?
Canyon, yeah. That would
And
be.
maybe
First Street and the canyon.
could very well be the area we talked about between the RV, between Wyeth Street
Yes.
and Second Street. We've talked about filling in that
Yeah.
canyon there, basically working towards a connector street ultimately. The city owns a lot.
So would Public Works and Engineering have any problem with the 50-50 relationship with on this lease going forward with that? That kind of agreement and that kind of settlement in the contract?
I don't, as long as it's paid for out of the profits of our share of the profits of the park, so we don't have to dig up any other money. It sounds
And
sounds fair to me. I mean, I think from the city's aspect, we're not looking to try to make any money off of it.
Yeah.
And we're already getting a big
No, we're not,
benefit.
but they are, so it looks to me like it's a
Yeah, but
cost
why-
of business.
Why would they do that if they're, there's not something in it for them?
That's right. So that is, so it's a win, what you're saying is it's
To me,
kind
the
of
biggest
profit.
benefit for us is the relief of the maintenance, and that's one,
You're already profiting by.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's our
$22,000
profit.
immediately.
Right.
True.
So
That's our
I
profit.
would ask of one thing from this, and that would be either a 1 or 2 day event, or for the Parks and Rec district, or maybe a discount if we become, actually, you buy into the Parks and Rec and you want to get a pass for that program. So we just kicked this off, and I think even a day or something, or maybe 2, that you guys will donate. We can pick the date well in advance,
I mean, just one day in the calendar.
or maybe a weekend.
2 days?
So a 2-day event, yes.
Yeah.
Or maybe a little bit of a break if they show you a Parks and Rec card. If we produce that, I'm just looking out for that program a little
So we'll
bit.
still be doing 4th of July on the island.
I don't know about 4th.
We'll have
That's kind of
access
yeah.
to that.
Well, you day use is still
Okay.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's part of the draw.
Okay,
That's,
yeah.
That's fun for our city, absolutely.
And really keep in mind what we're talking about is just the city's current boundary. And so that whole upriver into the island is outside of that boundary. Even a lot of the treed portion on the east side of the island is outside that boundary. So there's still a lot of the island that's.
I know
Did we
there's
get, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I know there's some cleanup to be done some brush cutting and things like that. Is that something that you guys are going to take care of, or is that something that we're going to be doing
No,
before you
we're
take?
planning on it, so that's, developing the other campsites, that's what you're gonna have to do, and
Okay.
we wanna develop more campsites. I really think this is going to be
Oh, I'm looking
very
forward.
big
I want cabins and yurts.
absolutely.
And yeah, and addressing that issue that you just brought up before it leaves us, did we get the agreement? And this, I think John probably knows about this as well as Susan and Neil. The agreement from DSL, or was it the Corps, or was it I know it wasn't the Marine Board. I'm not certain who it was from, but that we could extend the management of Sand Island, as the city could manage it, oversee it, take care of it, no matter where the boundaries are. As it's just defined as Sand Island, gives us that jurisdiction. So hopefully we have that in writing, so that we can move forward with Andrew's statement about where the lines are. If
You wanna be able to manage the bad elements off of Sand Island, so that really is kind of an important piece of work, so I hope we can have that, yeah.
Well, exactly, because we get into these games of someone, if there's a line drawn out there that we don't really know where it's at, and people are saying, hey, my kids can drink beer here, they're 16 years old, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? You can't do anything about it if we don't have jurisdiction over it, right? So
in actuality, it is in the city limits, regardless.
Okay.
And it's public land, regardless.
Right.
So there is no alcohol on any public land.
Well, that and anything else. I mean, just as it gives them the control to control that. That's
Right.
so important if we move forward.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. Yep.
Can I throw out something here? Thanks for clarifying that, Kathy, but you've talked about, or I've been kind of third party to a conversation about the administration of boaters on the island as well, in addition to this camping thing. So is this an appropriate time to include that discussion in the same document about how we're going to administer the docks and how boats are going to
I think it is.
not camp, they're just going to show up? And so is that something that should be part of this same
It should be.
Discussion, yes.
Yes.
I mean, that's all I just wanted to clarify. For having the same conversation, it should be.
I think we discussed, good point, and I think we did discuss that a little bit about, we talked a while ago about maybe even putting a $2 fee or making them register with, at least register
Yeah, and that's why I
the numbers.
thought if Brad's going to be doing some administration of collecting fees for the camping, why not collecting the fees for
Registrations.
the docks, and it should be part of the same
Exactly.
conversation, not two separate
Mhm.
agreements. So
Yep.
anyway, that's all I got.
We're going to agree to that.
The only other thing that and maybe you guys have talked to John about it, but is insurance. I'm not an insurance person, so who's covering what insurance-wise through this deal?
I know the marina insurance is gonna cover the campground, so I don't know what insurance you guys have on the island, or if you have any at all, or
Well, like
whatever.
the bathrooms and stuff are insured.
Are insured?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's, I mean, that's
But I don't
still
know how.
your island.
I don't know how
Yeah,
this
we're just
affects all that. I'm not an
maintaining
insurance guy. I just want to make sure
What
we're
about
both covered one way or another.
What
So that
about the
we
boat?
might want to have a
The
conversation.
boat will be covered by me.
Recreational.
We might
We'll have the Coast Guard skipper on it and all that kind of stuff. It makes it right for our.
just might want to have a conversation with
Yeah,
Chris
I think
Iverson, maybe.
Question on the actual buildings themselves as far as whether or not the city's insurance policy would continue to cover the.
Yeah, and
property.
more of the liability stuff's probably what I'm. Who's going to be liable for somebody getting hurt or whatever.
Well, that's mainly what we've been, of course, talking
Yeah,
about, is the liability.
but you guys might have a conversation with Chris anyway and see
Sure.
how all that pans out, because I'm certainly.
So I'd like to open this up to the staff as well. For my comment, in a sense, is we already have a security person, who is responsible for McCormick Park, and he lives in McCormick Park, and we have an agreement with that person. Do you see any differences with this issue here in terms of a lease agreement and working with a third party to oversee Sand Island? Could I get you to comment on that by chance? If there is any, if there's any problems or if it seems seamless, what's your thoughts?
I don't see any problems, but I think that this is way bigger than what he's doing over there, and he's got the ability to, you know, call the police and things like that when there's issues there that are going to respond immediately. So I think it's a lot similar. We got a contract with him.
Good. No problems?
No, it's gonna be, I mean, actually, you don't have anybody over there right now, so this is adding somebody.
Right.
Right.
So adding somebody is-
So you had said earlier that there will be some free campsites too,
There's gonna be.
for day, or day use campsites?
Day use,
That's what it was.
absolutely. Yeah, yep, exactly. So there'll be day use areas on
Okay.
both ends of the island are wide open, you know, for that.
Mhm.
So, you know, we talked about the possibility, we've got some longtime standing citizens of the community, families that have been going over there and camping for
Right.
an opening weekend for a long time. So, you know, and I think those kind of things are fun, and, you know, but I still think they need to apply so that we know who they are. They're not just, you know, somebody.
Sure. Yeah.
Some biker gang from Hillsborough comes in.
Now,
Well, and
The Del Fuegos.
Right, exactly.
It was
I
on a
mean,
movie.
I don't even have an issue with some charge for that because there is cost associated with
There's
that.
absolutely costs. You gotta clean up the bathrooms, you gotta
Yeah,
clean
yeah,
up the
yeah,
garbage
yeah,
and stuff like
exactly,
that,
yeah.
But it could be, it's minimal. I mean, again, this is a, you know, a
It,
right
it,
of
it really
access
isn't,
in St. Helens.
it really isn't minimal, trust me.
So,
It's not.
what's your parameters on dates of operation?
Right now,
Or-
we're looking May through September. I mean, that's kind of what we've thrown out there. You know,
That's-
there's a chance you're gonna do more with spring fishing, possibly, you know,
Okay.
so.
Then follow-up question, what kind of involvement will you have when the camping season is off? What kind of things will you do September through May?
Being that it's gonna be our investment out there with the things we're talking about, we're gonna be continually monitoring that. We do not want the vagrant boats showing up just when camping season stops.
Yeah.
I mean, I get to see it right out my window every day, you know, so we know when there's boats showing up on that island.
Yep.
You know, so,
Yes,
and
you
plus
do.
you gotta maintain the restrooms. I mean, you know, I don't know everything that we have to do yet, cause we haven't been told yet, because we don't know if we're gonna do it, but.
Those months it's mainly garbage in the restrooms.
Like, we want it to be.
About it.
We wanted to provide a nice, you know, a nice thing for the people coming over there, so we
So-
wanna make sure it stays nice.
So things like the spook cruise, and I would imagine that you would work hand in hand with the boating associations and the
Absolutely.
clubs that bivouac over there or have some kind of event on the weekends and whatever. Okay.
We're hoping to
And-
bring more events.
And that's something the St. Helens Yacht Club does, right? The Spook Cruise. That's something they actually put on
I don't know
themselves.
if they're the ones that originated it, yeah, it's.
PYC.
Yeah.
You guys are throwing out too many acronyms. Columbia River Yachting Association. Yes, so it is the local guys.
They're the one, no.
No,
they're
Portland.
They're the big association.
Okay,
That's
but
where
our
we are.
our locals are over there. We're over there
Absolutely.
Yeah.
mowing and doing a bunch of things back and forth. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And it's a fun deal. I mean, in all honesty.
I heard it's very cool.
It's bigger than 4th of July over there as far as number of boats that show up.
That's what I've
been
heard.
a
It's.
fantastic deal.
I heard the little kids make out like bandits over there, and the adults have a lot of fun.
Yes.
So,
Neat activity.
Doug, you had brought up what dates in May. I already see people on Facebook inquiring about how do I get over to Sand Island, and a number of people on Facebook
Yeah.
that I've seen. So
It's gonna go, guys. There's no.
just be
there's
able
no
to say, hey,
doubt
just go down to the marina and pick the date, or you could probably just show up and say I want to go camping later, and
Yeah. We just have to get the schedules out and all this kind of stuff, so it's gonna take some advertising and all that, but first we have to.
And luckily there was a few citizens, because Facebook is Facebook, that offered to actually give them a ride over. I think they might have made it over there, but they shouldn't have to go through that extreme. There should be something available as a city park. So
Do we need a full council here to go ahead with a motion to involve this lease to
I'd like to see
be a part of the lease?
first. I'd like to see a lease first before we.
So is that something that we have to get together with John?
Yes.
John, are you the lease writing person?
I think this is the framework for a letter of intent where you
Okay.
kind of lay out the parameters of
Okay.
the deal points.
Sure.
St. Helens Marina agrees to do
This, and
these,
this.
the city agrees to do
Right.
a certain number of things, responsibilities and roles.
No, we're,
It's getting there. It's forming. It's
Yeah.
coming together.
good. No, we're ready to go, guys. So you just have to let us know what the next step is, and we're ready.
And
That's
what I'd foresee doing is developing a nice map that, to be honest, we'd have done it already if we hadn't been so busy, but that documented where the existing sites are actually at and nailed
That way
down,
you'll
because
know
you
when
need
we
that
add
map
new ones and
for
stuff.
reservation purposes anyway, but there will be a nice map that,
I'm with Doug 100%. I'm ready to. Is it something we can have ready by next council meeting? Or do
The
we-
lease?
We can try.
John just fuckers.
Well, I mean, it's usually a good
You
rally.
don't know. We have a lot going
There's
on.
usually a parlay
Yeah.
back and forth. You know, we come up with something, you look at it, it always takes
Right.
longer than you think. We comes back to us, it always takes longer.
So-
It kind of kicks back.
So
and
you've
forth.
bgot this in, so the next one
Yeah,
will
this
be.
is-
if you can get those STC fees figured out by tonight, we can,
Well,
This one's easy because we're giving you money this time. We're not asking for it.
the problem is we got to talk to a lawyer, so we're a year down the road. easy.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a good lawyer.
So my question, Neil and Sue, the 5,000, is that just for the restrooms, or does that include the docks? Or is there a separate fee for the docks that we get from the?
Yes, there's
marina?
a separate fee for the docks based on the linear footage of the docks, and also a separate fee for the Columbia View restrooms over here. That 5,200 is just the amount that is specified for the two restrooms.
Okay.
And the facilities at the Sand Island.
That's all we want to. That's all we want to deal with. We want the. You know, we're not going to maintain the docks. If you got money coming in to maintain the docks, I'm going to tell you if there's something wrong. I'll probably help fixing it.
So
Yeah,
the-
you've
the other
actually drug a
question-
log or two off that dock
Yeah,
for
one or
us.
two
Yeah,
They were just,
or
they
4
were
or
just
5.
inspected today and they passed.
Right on.
So
Yeah.
another question is, if we do this, do you think the Marine Board is going to allow us to apply for those grants and down the road, to add more
believe,
restrooms or whatever?
John, I
Yeah, we've
believe
had that
you've- yeah.
specific question, and yes, it appears that
okay.
we'd continue to be eligible. It'd still come to the city, and we'd work it out through
Okay.
So
either through the way that you're proposing or a different way.
I think the mayor and I are in the same corner. We're thinking that graduation is just around the
Yeah.
corner.
Yep.
This week, and school's letting out. Camping season is on. Officially after that, as soon as school gets out, and so we're here twiddling our thumbs, kind of thinking, well, we're not quite sure. We haven't done any kind of vote or deliberation. Do we need? And my feeling is, do we need Jenny here to deliberate and say, let's go forward on this, get the letter of intent, get the lease agreement from our point of view, from your point of view? Can that be done in-house in a preliminary way, only to be given to an attorney that he can sign off on it in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month or however long it's going to take him to get all of that together? Keith brings up a good point. So I just, if these guys are wanting to get going, and I just would like to facilitate that in some way. And I do think we all need to see the lease before.
Including us. Yeah.
Oh, without
That's
a doubt.
really, to me, and again, that's just the next step. We have to have
Okay.
that. We have to have that.
I can agree with moving forward towards putting together a lease.
Towards what?
Putting together a lease.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Moving forward.
Moving forward. I'm not ready to say this is going to constitute the lease.
Of course.
Okay.
Right.
Of course.
Good.
I was going to save for my report about Chief Smoth's concern about the dock use regulations and how,
Yeah.
they would be a good
Good.
use of that. But we have made some traction on that ordinance, and essentially the overview is that it's day use only except by permit, and then the permit will have certain conditions. That one of them's the nominal $2 fee, but it's the owner operator information. It's agreeing to abide by a set of rules or rules of conduct, and
No, that's,
and some other things that I think that everybody would
this
agree.
stuff's gonna evolve too. It's not, this isn't gonna be the only thing we have, so it's, yeah, that's fun. That's great.
We don't want to see it sitting on our shelf.
That's right.
So my only input at this point is there's creation of parking, but then there's parking management, and this is one of those unknowns. You know, how hot is it going to be? Is it going to be a problem? But because they're going to be public spaces, unless you have a management or permitting program, they're going to be accessible to anybody. So there may need to be some partnership with seasonal camping you know, a camping parking permit or something like that.
Yeah, having a permit, putting in their window or something.
Yeah.
You know, and like these new spaces we're gonna build, we could put Sand Island parking on them. You know, we could put it behind the, back there behind the old,
But
by the school.
Well, it could even be that it's an additional fee if you need a parking space, you know, you assign a parking space along with the campsite. And we talked about some other areas, off-site parking, where people could get shuttled. I mean, if it's
So
heavy on
let
the
me
weekend,
let me
you know,
feed in on this
even private
since
parking lots are busy during the weekday, could be utilized.
Sure.
or
Yeah.
workday.
Absolutely.
I live down there, and I have the ear for all the other people that live down there and whatnot. This is going to become a real issue, especially if cars are parked there for a week at a time.
Yep.
So what we need to come up with is an off-site place, and they pay for that along with the camping or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's a shuttle service to take them back and forth to their cars or whatever the case would be. Because, I mean, I would hate to see cars sitting down there in the same place for a week, just because you're going to keep somebody else from.
Somebody that I know owns a marina down there, so parking can be a little bit of a problem, right? So no, we don't want.
Yeah.
I don't want my parking lot filled up with all but campers. So
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it's again. This
Yeah,
is
you make a
all-
lot more money off of your business, and this is just this is just an addition that's going to really, I think, enhance our community. Could big time. I mean, sky's the limit. Could be potentially huge. So,
Hey,
yes, Matt.
Rick, can I just say one thing to them and you guys to make sure you're aware? In the 2015 Parks Master Plan, you have $40,000 for a feasibility study on Sand Island that is SDC eligible. So if there are projects that need to be reviewed or looked at as parking, how many campsites, how feasible is the island, how much can it take, those kind of items,
And it can only be used for that, right?
it can be used for Sand Island.
Yeah.
How many more restrooms do we
How many more restrooms do you need?
But it could
How
be
much
used-
capacity?
It could be used for other things too, though, right?
Like what, Keith? Keith's over there with the evil eye.
He's already scheming.
Pay for his moving van.
So if there does need to be some kind of a study about parking to figure out where it could be, how it would entail, you do have SDC funds available that could be used to help with that project.
Good idea.
Along with
You
others.
can't use those funds to actually do the parking though.
No.
Correct.
'Cause I'd like to study how the pavement actually gets down on the ground.
I think there's also other exciting crossover opportunities here, like when you talked about state marine boards, you know, how they would feel about this. I think that the state marine board would be excited to see those docks used more, and this could fuel other grant opportunities for, you know, other things that are important to the state marine board, ADA fishing pier, that type of thing,
Yeah.
especially since there is public property
Yep.
down there.
Yeah.
Boy, we get asked about fishing pier all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, you can justify. hey,
Absolutely.
we need some more docks down.
You know what? That wouldn't be a half bad idea. I know we got a grant down there, right, Jen, for the a bathroom and to enhance the kayak canoe launch, right? Will that potentially add a little more parking? Is it going to be looked at a little bit to stripe it, or you chalk it, or something down there, or are we just going to kind of keep it the same, or?
Well, the project's not done, so there could be a surplus. We could come in under budget and have some money to use maybe on parking. We don't know yet.
Okay, yeah. Sorry about that, Sue. I'm sorry. I just seen you sitting there and asked the question. So, okay, thanks. But that would be a good place for a handicap dock too, fishing dock down there.
I'm looking through the information that was provided with the composting restrooms on the island to see if it lists anything about capacity And there isn't anything specific, it's just giving maintenance. You have to provide so much maintenance after 100 uses and after 500 uses and things like that, but it doesn't really say that that's good for a certain amount of time or for so many people using it over a certain amount of time. So.
Restrooms have a way of letting you know when they're not properly.
I'm gonna have Neil on speed dial.
All right, well, I think
He's trying to get.
I think this is good discussion. I think that we're moving forward with getting a lease.
Okay, that's the next
Yep,
step then.
yep.
Okay.
Yep. So.
Yep, we'll be talking soon.
Yep.
good.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, discussion parking around Strand Street and First Street. No name. Who's talking about this?
This was put on because Councilor Morton asked for it to be continued.
Okay. Yeah, I know we've discussed it. And, so back to the parking too down there. I'm going to come straight to you because you're engineering. So.
Well, it's also something that's really pertinent to planning and to public works because they're more than likely,
operational.
yeah,
Yes. Yep. Hand in hand.
yeah. So we did look at a few different options and talked to Councilor Morton for a while about what would be possible down there and what would be permissible through planning, etc. And for a temporary purpose, we think we could probably block in an area with those ecology blocks, those great big concrete blocks, and then be able to paint on those parking or no parking, so that people weren't just randomly parking in strange configurations that would potentially block people in. We could do that fairly economically. The most challenging thing is just going to be removing some of the vegetation, because if you think of it in your mind, you think, oh, it's just all gravel, but it's not. It's growing up pretty high with grass, which would have to be removed so that you wouldn't have any potential of fire sparking with a hot car parking there. And as we know, that does burn over there.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So there are some things that would have to be done, but after talking to Jacob about the possibilities of what would be permissible as a temporary feature, that would be the most likely, I think, scenario that we discussed, that wouldn't encumber the city too much, but still provide some additional parking space and a safe place to park. We'd probably have to put some lighting and some things like that back there, but it wouldn't be too onerous.
So that would be car access from Strand and walking access from
Yes.
First Street.
Yes, car access only from Strand, and so one way in, one way out there. And then pedestrian access you'd have access directly out onto the rest of the Veneer property, so you'd have access directly to the walking path, and then access over from First Street.
Estimated unbudgeted amount of money to facilitate that parking area. Do you have a high number and a low number by chance?
I'm gonna guess 15-ish thousand.
Around 15.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And talk to business owners regarding that, and they're very positive for it. Some of them are more positive than others. Okay, so this would have to be something that I think the entire council says, yes, let's do it, and direct Public Works to get that going. However, it's $15,000, and that's unbudgeted money, and this is just a concern that kind of came up in a sense of urgency for some of the business owners to get together and say, hey, can we reconsider on the parking issue? So along with that, to me, this is really interesting. I'm glad Jacob is here to hear this, that in that conversation, they said, Well, what about those two cars across the street? One of them has been parked there since Thanksgiving. And I'm thinking, since Thanksgiving. And so here's some of the problems of the parking issues. I mean, did we solve the parking issue by making another parking lot? Or do we solve the parking issue by getting that car towed after it's been there for a week? Do we have such an ordinance that the parking can sustain for an unlimited amount of time?
From what I read, and Terry would probably be better to weigh in on this, but I tried to look that up because I did get your voicemail, and I did leave a message for you yesterday, but everything that I read said as long as the parking location is not posted, that it's limited time, 2 hours, 15 minutes, whatever it happens to be, and as long as the vehicle is operational and has current tags, there is no limit as how long it can be parked there, except for a boat, a trailer, or RV. And then those have a limitation of 5 days, I believe, in the public right-of-way.
Thank you.
Yep.
So that's what I was going to comment on, is this has to be a two-part thing, is we have to make some parking spaces down there, certain time limits.
It would be a day use only, is what our discussion was. It was
Okay.
day use only. It would have to be locked up at night, or if it wasn't able to be locked up at night, then it would, have some way to give citations to those that were parked there after a certain time.
Maybe by permit, so that those cars that are parked there for a long time could permit to be over in the other lot.
That's another option as well.
That's a good idea, actually.
Because, I mean, I was thinking, because Doug brought this up, and, I was thinking about, and then I got thinking, oh, wait a minute. Sometimes I don't drive my car, especially when I had 3 cars. I didn't drive my car for 2 months sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
just walk. You could walk
Yeah,
wherever
'cause
you
I
needed
walk,
to
yeah,
go.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But that was on
the
private
problem
property.
with that would be if you had a customer that wanted to visit one of the stores
Right.
along there, and they go into this spot and they don't have a permit because they just drove down there to get a cup of coffee or to go to the physical therapist or look for something in one of the stores there. So how would they obtain that permit?
well, if we had it in this off-street parking, there could be maybe just a few spot. If somebody came in and asked for a permit, then we could designate this is your permitted spot, just that one spot or whatever for each.
We'll have like a wheelchair hanger for their mirror. It'd just be a picture of Keith Locke.
So most cities
they're permitted.
that I've lived in have an ordinance that you can't leave a car parked on the street for longer than 24 hours or 48 hours. It varies. We don't have that.
We don't have that.
We need that.
unless it's in a designated
Zone.
timed area.
We should have that.
Well, actually, thinking about it, you
something
really
that the
don't want that
council
though,
can-
because now you're telling people that you're against them walking places. You're
No, but if they're going to
discriminating
leave their
against-
car there for 48 hours,
I
I
mean,
am.
That-
Or you
I'm
can-
talking about my car.
It's a hard one because it's a mixed use down here. Yeah, it's a mixed use
Yeah.
down here. It's a really
There's
tough
a
issue.
there's a lot of
Well, okay,
residents here.
then we issue a permit for the people that live there.
So,
All of it.
I think we have a temporary solution that we could potentially work. Though we are like, I'm not sure. This was scheduled for 2:00. And we're 2:43 right now, and I need to move this meeting forward. So, is there?
Before you leave that, can I?
Yeah. I'm just
I
looking
just
at
wanted to
time.
share what might end up being a solution to this is something that we're working on as far as this Build America grant, which is a federal national grant that we're working on the boardwalk as being the next big catalytic piece of the waterfront to go complement with the hotel. But as part of that, it's at its core, it's a transportation grant. So we're looking at things that would fund extensions of streets and tieback and even explore ferry terminals. And, it's a big look. And it plays into the economics of the equation of how it might come together. So staff and Alta Planning and Design are helping us out with that. And we're hoping to submit an application here in about 6 weeks. And have some, know a lot, which would fund a big, it's big. It's a
Big grant,
It's a
yeah.
big grant.
Yeah.
But, my concern about a temporary solution is precedent setting. And I think we have a wonderful example of this, the Festival of the Fairies event that blocked off just that little bit of a trail, and how much outcry that caused of people not having their complete trail loop for that period of time. I think the same thing would happen with parking.
Thanks, John, for that comment. The only reason I was comfortable with having it at the end is because it would be interim. Because once Strand is extended, we'll have more on-street parking, and this parking area would go away. But there is the psychological part of, you know, someone has that, then they have that psychological ownership, just like views of the river and stuff
Yes.
like that. And, you know, you take it away and change it to street parking, are they going to bring out their torches and pitchforks?
Yeah, that's a good point, Jacob.
It seems simple.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe wait and see.
I'm not saying that either.
No, it's hard
I'm
to
saying
please.
that there's variables to consider.
So we do, like Sue was saying, and make sure that it's very day use type, not get people used to being down there. And I think with setbacks and stuff, it probably would fall in an area that would prepping the gravel and getting rid of the organic material won't be wasted in the long run, because it'll probably potentially help, because it would. That's kind of where the Embarcadero.
We're gonna have a rough fire season
is
this
looking.
year.
Yes. Yeah, we are. We are.
I'm
It'll be
more
bad.
concerned about the vehicle, having been there since November.
Yeah. So
that might be something that council wants to give some direction on too, as far as a 72-hour limit on public streets, or.
And could it be like event parking too down there? The little barricade thing.
That's a
we're talking
different
about?
issue. This would be more of a citywide issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's already a 5-day limitation for RVs, trailers, boats, etc.
And automobiles.
You know, is that something that you want to extend to all vehicles?
No.
So I have to go out and move my car.
No.
for 5 days?
Yes.
Yes.
We don't want to go to Hawaii
Yeah.
for
Every 5
You can
days.
move it to Salem, exactly.
You could donate your house for parking for the Sand Island.
I thought I was thinking about that.
Okay.
So, how do you get into that? Is that a punt, or is that?
Yeah, that's a punt.
Okay.
That's definitely. Let's move on. Because Matt should be talking at 2:15 and he's talking at
So
2:45.
this is still in discussion.
Or, yep.
I'd like to concede my topics down to department reports, and we can move on to Jacob.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, Jacob, Annual Planning Historic Landmark Commission report. Jacob, you got the whole show.
Okay, yeah,
I'm
I
just
got
gonna let you go on down the line.
a lot of
okay?
stuff.
Okay.
But a lot of it's pretty quick.
Okay.
So the annual report from the Planning Commission, Historic Landmarks Commission, I have this one pager. As has been in all cases except 1 year, there was no planning commissioner that elected to do it. And it makes sense because the planning commission is just such a different animal from the other commissions and committees, because they're a review body that has review authority. So they don't have to look for stuff to do. It comes to them. But they met 11 out of 12 months last year, and it was the same the year before. As far as hearings and other items, they are up from last year, which is no surprise. Things they discussed, a lot of them you have seen, like urban renewal, branding, wayfinding, the soda tax. Matt visited one meeting to get their feedback on that, and of course auxiliary dwelling units. Projects in process, they're directly involved with the Riverfront Connector Plan. Future stuff, we've already kind of worked on some preliminary code amendments for auxiliary dwelling units and home occupations. And one thing we're going to add to that is an examination of our wetland and riparian buffer rules. That'll ultimately go to the council to see what number we land on if we want to change that. Other than that, that's what I got.
And the next riverfront corridor is June 12th for the public. Correct?
Yes.
I tested him, and you were on it. Yep.
I was trying to remember, is that the second Tuesday of the month? Because that's when it is.
And there's two different meetings: 5:30 to 6:30 or 7. 5 to 6:30. Yep. Okay. Yep.
So that's moving along smoothly, thankfully. Any questions on the report?
Nope.
Okay. So the next one, and can I? Oh.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can read that. So, discuss property line adjustment and purchase request of city-owned property off Deer Island Street. Jacob.
Okay, and then Leslie Everett should probably come to the front because it's their request. But what I want to do is I ran some scenarios just to help you think about it. Hopefully it doesn't make it more complex than it needs to be. Just to discuss it here. So, if you recall, they requested that. Well, first of all, I should orientate you. This is the transit center here, Deer Island Road, Oregon Street, the highway, the city shops facility here, and it's a weird-shaped lot. And one of the particular weird aspects of the geometry is this little peninsula thing. I call it a peninsula because that's the shape of it, that reaches out to Deer Island Road. So this was an access used for a long time. Talking to Neil, confirming it with him today. It's not an access that we depend on anymore. So we had this area highlighted, changed from industrial to apartment residential, or highest density zoning district, because they wanted to put more there. There's a duplex on there. There's a house. The house burned. It's no longer a legal dwelling unit. But they want to add dwelling units, which is a good place for it. And so as part of their planning, they are inquiring about obtaining this from the city. And so that's why they're here. And what I want to do is just talk about what they want to do and some potential options, at least in regards to potential density. Because as a city, our goal is varied, but in our high density zones, of course, we like to see density. So let's look at some various scenarios. Oh, this is their letter first. The one thing I want to comment, what they want to do is divide the property into two, which would separate the duplex, and then at the very least build a triplex on the vacant parcel. So can you go to full screen and go to the first map? Yeah. Or that should work. Okay, so the first scenario, so here's the peninsula that I call it. Here's their property by itself. So without this property, they could potentially achieve what they want. And these number calculations are strictly based on the density allowed by the zoning district. It's not based on site design where you put the parking, landscaping, all that stuff. I didn't get into that detail. But if they wanted to carve this off, so this is the duplex. One thing we know is they need a lot width of 50 feet, so that inevitably puts the line there. That gives us a little over 10,000, so you could potentially have a fiveplex there. So as it is, they could achieve what their goal is as stated in the letter. And that has a potential density of 8 units, because this by itself could actually be a triplex. So next one. So in this case, what's happening is we take this line here and we adjust it. We do a property line adjustment to move that to here.
Now their constraint is the 10-foot yard requirement. You're supposed to have a 10-foot setback from that property line, so that's as close as that property line could get to that existing building. So now we have a parcel large enough for 8 units, and this one grows to potentially 6 there. So for a potential of 14. And that would be, and their request, basically the way they worded it, would be to obtain that much of the city to add that to their property. So that would be via lot line adjustment. So next scenario. So in this case, what's going on is the peninsula is carved off as a separate parcel. So this is scenario 1. With this as a separate parcel. We still have potentially a 5-plex, potentially a triplex, and potentially a 4-plex with this size. So 12 potential units, and maybe more value in a lot than adjusted property. So scenario 4. So in this case, so let's say a lot line adjustment occurs, they add it to their property, and then later on down the road they say, well, we kind of want to take this parcel and divide it into 2. So you get the 6 here. You can still get a triplex here, and then you get up to a triplex here. So we're at 12. And the point is, the more you cut it up, the less potential density you have. The other thing in this case is the old property line was here, and that's okay. It's grandfathered. It's been like that for eons. And if this was parcelized, right now, this property does not have any association with this property. So it would be legal to put a property line there and have this be a legal parcel with the line right there. If they added the property and then did a land division in the future, the property line would be more like this in order to meet current standards. And so there's a potential way of playing the game as well. Now, scenario 5 isn't written down, but scenario 5, there's no map, but that's basically a way where they obtain the city peninsula. They don't do any land divisions, and in that case, you can have up to 15 units potential. And the reason I said that, just to emphasize the fact that the more you divide the property, the less density you have. So that's all I need to point to. All. Give you the mic so you can participate in the discussion. So it's an interesting question for us because you could parcelize it and potentially get more money from a whole land rather than adjusted property. But there are many things to consider. One is money, always money. There's also public good. Because it's apartment residential land, the more density you get, especially close to the transit center, it helps advance our goals as a city. And so I think there's those two things. Personally, I don't really have an opinion on it. I'm just running some things to help you think about it. And of course, they're here to talk about their dreams and goals.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So the more you split it up, though, the less you can get there.
Yes.
You can get you can get 15 places there right now.
If
it were to
if
bulldoze
they
down the
if they had the capital to do that,
Yes.
of course, that's another factor.
Yes. Yep.
But we always have to think about long term.
Yep.
Okay. Is it on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It just yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's not real loud, but
All right.
Yep.
Okay. My name is Leslie Everett, and I co-own the existing property that's there with my sister and brother-in-law. I think Jacob's, he's done a lot of good work there in those scenarios for us, but he's more or less, explained the potential, really, really well. He threw in a few of them. There were ones that we hadn't even considered, but I'm going to say we're still going along the lines of our original goal. If we were to obtain that extra parcel of land, as in build in relation to what is already in that road, as in keep it in keeping, as in all in one level, but also more importantly affordable housing. We're not looking to at this moment in time cram as many properties on there as possible. We're looking to do either a 3 or a 4-plex on the left-hand side of the property. That was always the plan. And then when we started thinking about the extra little piece, we thought, well, with that property line being, really close to the existing duplex that's already there, how cool that might be to add the extra land and also look to develop that, down the road as well. But again, the aim has always been to do affordable as much as we can, of course, but affordable housing in that area. Basically that's it. That's all I'll have to say. The plan, as I say, has been the same as it's always been, but as in, if we were to obtain the extra parcel of land, to do the same on there as we are planning on doing on the original piece of land. So, questions?
Well, I clearly recall you guys coming here. It's been a while.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
It has been a while.
And I'm glad you're at least thinking about that chunk of land, because when we brought it up, you're like, no, we're just worried about this.
Well, yeah, and we were for the longest time, and then a lot of other things. Actually, that's why. Actually, it's been a year. Jacob, when we met with him a little while ago, reminded us that it'd been a year, but we've had a lot come into the mix since then. But anyway, that's all in the past now. We are, ready to get going.
Yep.
And then when we, as I say, we seriously started to look at it, we thought, well, okay, if we were to, obtain the extra land, what we could potentially, do there as well. So it was, as I say, it wasn't originally in our thoughts, but if it was, if we were to, then we would like to, really utilize it, and make the best, make the best of it. So,
Sure.
as I say, there's a couple of, scenarios there. We are at this point with getting, some potential plans drawn up, and depending on how, if we were to get the extra piece of land or not, as to how that would affect, obviously, what we do there. So, we wanted to, just throw it out there and, get some, your take and your thoughts on it sort of now, which will sort of determine how we go forward, and what we actually, obviously, cost will come into play, of course, but that will obviously play a factor in what we do if we were to obtain it too. So,
I think last I recall, and it's been a while, but I think Public Works did chime in last time, and they said that
They
road's
did.
never used, right? Ever.
Right.
It dead ends into our property.
Yeah, this used to be our second access out of the city shops, and since we bought the Stimpson property, we don't use it anymore, because it has second and third outs over there, and a way to get semis out of the back of our property too. We used to use that for that. We haven't used it for years, so I have no problem with that.
What would its value be as a city lot? The peninsula.
I'm assuming we would have to be appraised. I mean, I don't have an idea.
City lot's 60 to 70,000 right now, something like that.
Yeah.
So is this a purchase? A purchase of that property, of that property that we're talking about?
It is. It's a request to purchase.
Request, yeah.
And basically, there's two ways to go about it. It can be parcelized, or it can be a lot line adjustment.
Okay. And so is there any figures, any kind of price been discussed at all?
Yeah, they offered
It's in their letter.
Okay.
10,000, but we pay for all the fees.
No, they pay
But
the
we
They
pay
pay the
for
fees.
it,
Yeah.
And we based that on, we did a little bit of research and so that you know where we got the 10,000 from. The current property values on that little peninsula are 950 a year, so we just 10 times that
On
as
the
a
letter in the
starting
packet.
point
Okay.
for that, so.
Here.
You mentioned a number, and I would have to disagree on that as far as infill lots, the price, what you threw out.
Just my
No.
lot is
Right.
worth like,
So, a flat buildable lot
Yeah.
yeah,
on City Street?
yeah. I'm with you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm agreeing.
What'd you say? You said
Like the
60
to 70,000.
Well,
$70,000.
maybe a little less than that, but I'd say
For this
upwards
side of the
40,000.
For this side of the tracks, the infill lot, you're saying 60 to 70? I think you'd be bankrupt if you were a builder.
I think
brother.
I think we could ascertain that. I think we could get that figure.
So the property is zoned apartment residential, and it's located right across the street from the transit center, which makes it, you know, from the city's community development perspective, that having a higher density, more intense use would be desirable. So people that need
Right.
affordable housing have good access to public amenities.
That was gonna be my second comment was,
Yeah, that
and-
makes
build
sense.
more houses on it.
Right,
Then-
and we're gonna,
So rather, and our code addresses, you know, maximum density. There's also some development codes have minimum densities to kind of achieve
Right.
those goals, and we don't have that. So to the extent that it's some sort of public-private partnership to achieve a goal that has more dense development, that might be a different type of conversation where you're, rather than having, I don't know, what's your proposal, 4 lots or something like that, and we can get 15 in a different scenario,
Well, their proposal is to keep the duplex,
or not lots, but units. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
basically 5 units
yeah,
is their short-term proposal.
short term.
Well, I think we need an appraisal.
Yes.
Yeah, I just, my thought was, I think we need an appraisal on it, get an appraisal on it and go with that.
Well, and it's not a lot now. We could parcelize it to make it a lot, but it's
Yeah.
not a lot currently.
So it has no public record of it right now, basically what you're saying.
It's undoubtedly
Yes.
not a lot.
Yes.
There's no question.
Yes.
But we could, as a city,
Right.
do a 2-parcel partition and break it off from the shops. But the point I was trying to make is the more you put property lines there, the overall less density, at least based on the current rules, you're going to end up with. So it's kind of this, well, which way do you go? Or do you just have a lot line adjustment where you're not creating as many
So you need to
lot
find
lines?
that balance, though, because you don't want to give it away, but it's going to be beneficial to them. They're going to be able to make the most use out of it because they own the property adjacent to it, is what you're saying, right, Jacob? Is that what I hear you saying?
But if they're putting 5 units on it and somebody else might be willing to do more if we were to take.
If they don't own the property, they can't.
No,
The adjacent property, they cannot do it.
Right.
can't do the 5.
They can't do 5 on there. No, because they don't have the property, right? Is that correct, Jacob?
Yes, a lot line adjustment, it's conveniently right there. It's the property that's logically eligible for lot line adjustment.
Without that, how many units can they build?
As it is currently,
Uh-huh.
Or 3?
so that's scenario 1, that's 8.
Okay, thank you.
And what difference does all that make to you? I mean, why?
Oh.
What's the difference between 8 and 6 and whatever? Can't we get a speculative assessment?
I want a
For-
assessment, I'm agreeing.
Uh,
I was just curious.
Can't we get a speculative assessment on this property for its value?
If it was a lot.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
its maximum, to the maximum value that it potentially has. I don't care which scenario it is, to its maximum speculative value. Let's get an assessment on it.
A county assessed value is what, if a real market value is all you can go off of. You can't go off speculative.
Well, what we're going
comparable
off of now is ourselves, who doesn't really know with
Yeah,
anything about it.
absolutely. Yeah, real market value is what I'm saying. That's gonna. You can't go speculative on what could potentially be there.
You can go with what a city lot is worth that size.
So we have somebody here who's willing to develop and looking at already going to build they're asking us about this other property. Let's get an assessment done on it, and let's be reasonable, and let's as long as it's reasonable.
That's all we asked
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I hear the. Okay.
So no opinion
I'm
on the
not saying
council
that's what I
without an
want it
assessment
for.
is
I'm
what
saying
I'm.
that's what it might be worth.
I don't think we can do anything without an assessment. I don't see how.
Sure you can. You can go buy, rent, or pay for an assessment of it and say, if this was a lot, what would it be?
No. I'm not arguing with you on that. I'm saying I don't think we can move forward on this request without
Right.
having an
Oh,
assessment.
Yes.
Oh, exactly.
And I'm sorry. I apologize. I forgot your name.
Leslie.
Leslie.
Everett, yeah.
Okay. I love your accent, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes. So it sounds like we're going to get an assessment.
For sure.
Yes. And
This is just, I get it, the start of the process, and I say that's,
Sure.
we had nowhere, we didn't know where to start. That's why we just put that figure there of 10,000 based on the property values, and
Yep.
we understand, yeah.
absolutely
But,
opened the door. It opened the
Sure.
door. Yes.
Sure, okay.
And you guys are going to start building on the other chunk soon?
Oh, yes.
Good.
We are good, yeah, we
Congratulations.
are good to
Yes.
go. As I say, it's
Yep.
been a long time coming, but we are very excited and very keen to get going. But as I say, we would like to know if we were, if we could acquire that extra piece of land with knowing what we could do, in the plan. So any idea how long it might be before you came back with an idea of cost? How soon? Do you want us to get?
Well, I think if we're the ones
That's-
selling, we should be doing the
Yeah.
appraisal so we know
We
what
own
it's
the
worth.
property.
Yeah.
Right.
I know. That's kind of. She's right about that too.
Can I make a suggestion?
Mhm.
As we are, as I say, our offer was 10,000 with all costs and expenses. We'll do it. If we get an appraisal done, do you have any any recommendations as to who to use, or just
Well,
whoever?
I would rather. I think that'd be kind of like a conflict of interest, though.
Mhm.
I really do.
Oh,
I
okay.
see that being
Me
a
too.
huge conflict, because then if she doesn't, she's not awarded it, and they paid for that.
We're the stewards of public money. And I think that we need to ascertain what we have is valued at. Mhm.
And if it
'Cause they're
weren't for that
approaching
request, we
us.
wouldn't be spending that money.
Sure.
So there's got to
Okay.
be, to me, there's got to be some sort of compensation, whether or not they actually end up paying more for the property if we sell it to them to cover the appraisal.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that's something to think about.
Okay. Can we get in touch with you on that?
For sure.
We have your email, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm just going to make a suggestion here because we've talked a lot about getting rid of surplus land, and this is a great time and example to do this because it's a very sellable piece. So I'm going to ask that, or make a motion that we hire the assessor and have it assessed for us, so we'll know what it's worth, and then she can come back, and then we can get back with them. And
Do we have other property that we'd like to have assessed at the same time? You were talking about saleable property.
I'd have to see the map. I've never seen the map.
I just found a list that I got from Skip about 10 years ago. I don't know. You remember that, Jacob, when Skip did that?
It's a little different list nowadays.
It
As
is,
far as
yeah.
city-owned properties?
Yes.
Yeah, we've made maps here and there over the years
Right.
that visually shows it.
We do have several pieces that could be sold around the city.
and encourage
Or,
selling.
or in fact, that I've recommended that we maybe work with CAT and Habitat for Humanity and maybe get some low-income parcels, if nothing else. And maybe this could be the prime example, but anyway.
So you've got 2 or 3 recommendations you gave us. Which one we going?
Well, the first one would be to get this property assessed.
Appraised.
Appraised.
Yep. Go with an appraiser.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. So I just wait to hear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Leslie.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, Jacob, now we are on to review Matson Street subdivision, is that correct? Yep. SDC credit agreement.
I guess I'm a little. So Keith made a motion, I think.
Yeah, I heard that, but nobody seconded it.
But I think generally you want the city to initiate the appraisal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's what I heard. Yep.
Yes.
I think it turned into a consensus. I'm not sure.
Yes.
All right, that's fine. I just want to make sure we know what we're going.
Good work, Jacob.
Thank you.
All right, Matson subdivision. So the Matson subdivision is where the former Violet's Villa mobile home park was located. So one of the things that we kind of thought about in that subdivision is, well, we have this whole parcel, and we know there was all these cabins and manufactured homes, some of which were legal, some of which weren't. And we had fairly good records about what was legal on the whole property. Which ones were legal and which ones weren't is another question. So geographically, where did the SDC credits go? And so we don't really have an answer, and we don't have any information to come to a good answer on that. So one of the things we did with the subdivision is included a condition that said that we need to work out how the available system development charge credits will be distributed. And this is actually an item for tonight for the mayor's signature. It was one of those things that, you know, it's weird, it's different. We may not ever see something like this again. So it's something that we wanted to discuss with you. So we've prepared this basic agreement. And the developer who took charge on subdividing the property and as at the very least going to build the largest parcel, adding 204 apartment units. At least that's the proposal that we have. What they would like to do is take all those credits and put it towards Lot 5, which is the one for the apartments. And I don't know, really don't have any beef with it as long as we have it memorialized. And that would be via the mayor's signature, and so that's why this is on the agenda.
So what is Lot 5?
Lot 5 is the largest lot of the subdivision, the one that they propose to build the 204 apartments on.
Mm-hmm. And they want to take that.
Yeah, there is a
and put it
map
towards
on the
that lot?
memo.
From
The whole development?
Yeah, because
Whole development and put it into that lot.
yeah, because where the credits, the geographic origin for a lot of those credits are too wishy-washy to say this is how we're going to distribute it. And so rather than trying to make something up as we go, we're like, let's figure this out up ahead so it's all clear. It's all clear to everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. Since we don't know, why don't we just distribute it across the entire acre?
In the staff report, if you've read the memo, in the staff report for the subdivision, this is how it reads. The city feels the best approach is to distribute the credits amongst the 5 proposed lots based on size. Thus, the lot size will be a certain percentage of the total lot size of the subdivision after right-of-way dedications. That percentage would apply to the amount of credits available. But the owner said, nope, we want it to all go to lot 5. And so that's the question for you. If you don't like it, we'll go back to the drawing board.
I like your recommendation.
Well, the recommendation is that it go to Lot 5?
No, that it.
Over the whole.
Yeah,
the whole-
distributed based on percentage of lot size. So if there are 100 units, we'll simplify the math. If there are 100 units of system development charge credit,
Okay.
and lot 5, let's say that takes up 60%, and they get 60 of those credits.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Yep.
Okay, so you would rather have an even Steven approach.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Is it because they were looking to make this lot 5 immaculate, a showcase, or what? Is it the focal point of the whole thing? I don't get what's going on with lot 5. Why
I
would
think because the developer who divided the property, his big project is lot 5, and so he wants to reap the rewards.
Right.
No, I got you. Yep.
Well, he's going to sell off the other lots, and they can fend
Right,
for
then there's
themselves.
no incentive for the other.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I like your recommendation too.
Okay, so we'll, I guess Kathy, scratch that from the authorized to sign.
Especially when you look at the outside of Matson Street and it's just that asphalt walkway, right? I mean,
Temporary.
yeah. Okay.
What are we doing with the city streets in that parcel?
We're allowing dirt roads.
I love it.
No, what
Gravel,
I'll
we're going
take
to oil.
dirt.
I can
All-terrain vehicle.
I can explain that. So where each lot abuts a public street, including the undeveloped street to the south, which is between the Motel 6 and the property.
Right.
So for the ones that are developed on the north and west, they will have to McBride and Matson, yes, thank you. They will have to be improved to our current standards for the development proposals. Where we really get into greater intensity of improvements is the street on the south side. So that intersection is going to be redone because if you look at where Maplewood is and what's called Braden Street, that's the new name, you'll see that little jog, that offset. So that's not something we want. So on the subdivision, which actually will look out pretty soon, so you can see what they've done. They've kind of shaved that corner off so we can get a better alignment with that intersection. And so the apartment complex will have to rebuild that intersection. And then the other thing we're doing with Braden Street is what we said, because we know we're not going to get US 30 access from that street. They're going to have one access point a little north of that, between that street and McBride.
Yep.
So what we said is the street needs to be improved to the easternmost point of vehicular access, and then the point in between needs to be a multi-use path. And the real estate building, which you can see in the survey there at the bottom, they have a bunch of parking that's in the right-of-way. And George Hafman, he's brought it up many times. He said Skip Baker assured him that it would never be used, that he had this perpetual right to these parking spaces. I don't know why a planner would say something like that. But in any case, it may all work out because if they only need a multi-use path, it may not impact their parking. But in any case, that's kind of the general overview of how we're dealing with that.
You get a lot of do you get a lot of that about somebody said way back that it was okay to do that, promises and that kind of thing, without any documentation at all? Do you get a lot of that?
If I graphed it out, if I had a graph, there would be a slow decline, but it still comes up every once in a while, just not as frequently.
I like that decline.
Yeah, there's been a decrease in the frequency of those kind of statements.
Okay.
People are dying off, you know.
Keith.
That's right. It's just like,
Mr. Bright and Shiny over there.
okay.
All right. Any more discussion on Matson? We done here? Okay. Review public road dedication from St. Helens School District. Jacob?
Okay. This goes back a ways. This goes back, the earliest is when the city approved McBride Elementary in the early 90s, there was a requirement from a 1992 decision that right-of-way right there be dedicated along with some street improvements. And way back in 2011, if you see the letter I sent to the school district, it's dated 2011. That's not a misprint. That's when we really initiated this conversation with the district. There's some surveyors that were doing work out there, and they came to the office and said, hey, you know, we noticed that the survey shows that this right-of-way should have been dedicated but never was. So then I look at the land use decision, pull it out of the box, blow some dust off of it, and go, well, holy cow, sure does, right there, black and white. In fact, that letter's attached to the memo. For some reason, it was never done. And so that brought up the discussion amongst staff about, oh, God, was there any other place that right-of-way should have been done? And that brings us to Lewis and Clark School, when also in the 90s, the city, in partnership with the school, I wasn't here, so I don't know all those details, but they realigned 9th Street. It sounded like it was a really good place for teenagers to jump their cars. I never saw it. But in any case, so it realigned 9th Street, but right-of-way was never dedicated. So we sent this letter back in 2011 to the school district saying, hey, look, we noticed these issues. Let's kind of work to get some of these dedications done. And to the school's credit, this letter has lived on the maintenance person's desk or the facilities manager's desk for all this time. Because on the occasion that I bring it up, it's kind of been high-hanging fruit because there's always a lot going on. I just have it on my to-do list. But they never forgot about it. But with the middle school project, now they have to hire surveyors and all these other professionals. So that kind of gave us, all right, well, now we can kind of get this conversation going. And here we are. Finally, after all these years, I'm here to say, let's get these, let's accept these dedications and get them taken care of. This is housekeeping.
On this school, on the right-of-way where they moved 9th Street, little triangle, who owns that piece?
District.
School district.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. If it was ours, I was going to say assess it, sell it. So
that's the history. I'm just glad that something that's been on my list for this long, I can finally take it off. Unless you don't want to accept the dedications.
Nope. We'll accept it.
Let's
go with Let's do it.
So that's that.
Okay. So review access easement for middle school project.
Okay, so the middle school, large project, a lot of stuff going on. So we had several meetings with the district's consultants and folks. And one of the times we met, they're saying, well, we're really looking at some ways to save some money. And they were kind of concerned about the portion of sidewalk basically between the two ends of that easement there. It's about 430 linear feet of potential sidewalk. And if you were out there, you would see that it's the road and then it's a rock bluff. And of course, rock excavation can be an expensive endeavor. And they were like, what can we do? And so we're like, well, heck, we have this pathway. Let's just get an easement over the pathway and call it good. Yep. And they said, well, that sounds fantastic. So this is so we still have a public way. It's existing. This just memorializes it so it's public access. And there's some important things that we worked on with our attorney. Because this is a little different than a trail easement or something like that. And this is kudos to Neil because he reminded me of it when we were working on it. We have rules in our code that says the adjacent property owner is responsible for sidewalk maintenance. Mm-hmm. And since this is basically in lieu of a sidewalk, we felt, oh, God, we should have those kind of standards. So we made sure that was embodied in this agreement. So it's an easement for right of public passage. The school district still is the lead on maintenance. Now, it says we can still do stuff in there. We're just not necessarily the lead. So I think it was kind of a win-win situation. And this is one of the legal documents we needed to get taken care of for the middle school. And I kind of, because of so much going on, I just wanted to get all the school legal documents taken care of early on.
This meeting happened about in the planning commission about a year ago, close to. Maybe 9 months ago.
It was in the winter.
Yeah, about this easement. I think about 9 months ago. November, maybe.
So the planning commission approved the site design review where this concept was approved. So now we're taking care of the.
Now remember there was discussion about having the sidewalk in before.
Yeah,
right?
This is unrelated though.
Yes. But
That's for the places that they're actually building the sidewalk.
Yeah.
This is just the easement.
Okay.
And so this is for mayor's signature tonight. But again, like the other one, I wanted to explain it so you kind of knew what was going on because it's a little different, weird, and maybe not something we'll see again, at least in several years. So
appreciate it. Okay.
So that's that.
All right. So now we have to review a final plat for Matson subdivision.
Yeah, so the Matson subdivision. Back to that. So it's been a while since we've had a final plat. Frighteningly, Elk Ridge Phase 6 is being beat by this one. If you knew anything about Elk Ridge, it's been just going on for years and years at a very slow pace.
Hey, Tom works at his own pace.
Yes. You nailed it on the head. So subdivisions require signature from the mayor. And so this is an authorization of the mayor's signature. And part of the reason for that is there's several places where you're accepting public right-of-way. And so we are requiring right-of-way dedication in various places, a little bit along McBride. There's a radius at the corner of McBride and Matson. And as I mentioned before, where we're looking at that intersection realignment, you'll see a big chunk of right-of-way cut out of the lower left-hand corner. Now, right now, we're not at the 100% point of, here, Rick, here's the Mylar, sign them. But there's a medical office facility who's really chomping at the bit for Lot 1. And what I'm hoping to at least get is the authorization for Rick's signature. So once I have all that other stuff in place, which includes the system development credit agreement, then, hey, Rick, how's your signature hand feeling today?
Where haven't we got me a stamp yet?
Well, the Mylar takes special ink, so I don't know if it would work for that. So that's why I'm giving this to you now. So basically we're not burdened with these formalities later. But it's close enough because I see a facial expression of discomfort. It's well, unless you're thinking of something else. But I wouldn't.
Probably thinking she's getting hungry, wants to get home. It's 3:30.
If it's close enough that I'm comfortable bringing this to you. If there was a bunch of stuff that wasn't resolved, I'd be like, no way. But it's close. So that's why I feel comfortable asking for the authorization at this point.
As long as it's his signature, it's fine.
Yeah. He's responsible.
I'm comfortable enough. If you're comfortable enough, because I trust your judgment for the most part, because you go in depth and explain things very well and thoroughly. And that's what I appreciate about you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is another thing on for tonight.
Okay. So, and then update status on canoe schedule. Keith.
Well, I thought this was going to be passed along to somebody. I sent out an email. Now nobody's here to talk about it. So.
I know, right? They wanted it on our agenda, but
wait. I just want to talk about the canoe in itself. Just, I mean, are we going to let this thing just go up the river and come down the river, or what are we gonna do? It's up to you guys. It needs some tender loving care first. So
And I
who's
know
gonna
there's
do that?
been some concern about it being a valuable cultural symbol, piece of art. And yeah, do we
How
want to
come I
let it
didn't hear from the arts
go?
commercial? Did you get the email I sent out?
Yes. Because their subcommittee's waiting to see what we do. If it,
Oh, well, I thought I'd get a little response,
you didn't get a work party.
and that concerns me.
Okay, here's the,
So these guys, their schedule's getting ready to start here soon. That's why they're wanting approval of this, right?
They want to actually. They've got I think for Father's Day weekend.
Running
which is-
Dog Brewery.
Yeah,
Yes,
Dog
they're doing
Brewery. They've got a little exhibit going on over there for the weekend for a little fundraiser or something. I'm not sure what for. I guess to take care of the canoe.
I thought you were a guest speaker at that.
so, they probably
I
like
was
that.
invited.
I think
haven't
they want you there.
RSVP'd yet.
What needs to be done to it?
Just some new oil on it is all.
So if there are conditions that we want to put on it, we need to let them know let the whoever's Ken,
Yeah.
who's raising money for it, know what the conditions are under
Have
which we
we,
let it go.
Did we find out anything about insurance or anything like that?
For the trip or just for? Okay.
The value of it. And they're supposed to have all the other insurances, right? Was that the whole?
Yeah, waiver. Well,
our
we
release
were,
is good for liability if somebody drowns.
and I think we need to provide the waiver.
You mean like the
so that we
liability
know to
waiver?
cover what we.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a multiple email exchange with the gentleman who, if I think you emailed and said, I think you had a copy of a.
I sent the copy to Kathy, right?
Okay.
Yeah, John. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not sure if we sent that over to
And then
attorney.
it actually, Chris, you sent it to Chris, right? Because Chris responded.
Correct. Chris gave his response, but he
Right.
said he wasn't an attorney, and
What was his
But he made
response?
some valid points on things that needed.
he
to be
did. He brought up
included.
a couple aspects of the contract, but
I
ultimately,
know he's not an attorney, but he deals with this stuff all the time. What was his points?
I'd have to pull up the email.
Okay.
But ultimately, it was you need to have this reviewed. You should have this reviewed by an attorney.
Well, it was actually written by an attorney.
Well, then he needs
According to this guy, it was a general one off the internet.
No. That was a different one.
Oh, okay. This is a different one.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is the one that the foundation used that Robert.
Okay.
There were just a couple of other points, and I don't remember what they
So
were.
you might actually be able to go down
John-
to Robert and say, "Did you draw this up?" And if he says, ask him.
John, do you have it? Yeah.
Was this playing the Hobnob Brewery?
That has the
Acoustic
waiver,
Brewery.
doesn't it? Or it
But-
has Chris's
but the foundation
suggestions as
doesn't
to what
exist
needed to be
anymore,
added.
So they're off the line for everything. So
Well, yeah, but he might
Kathy's
still
got
be
it
able to
pulled up.
say, "I drew it up."
yeah, that doesn't mean it.
It does because he's still an attorney, isn't he?
If there are things we want
Yeah,
to,
but I doubt if he's going to put his stamp of liability on it.
So the
oh, there's Ken now coming in now.
Chris
Uh,
specifically said, I would also include releasing the City of St. Helens, its directors, officers, volunteers, employees, and council. Where it talks about bodily injury, it should also say death. About halfway down, it discusses holding people harmless, and it only discusses personal injury and property damage. I would include bodily injury and death in that sentence as well. I am not sure if they can encumber in a state for a suit brought by heirs. But if someone were to die as a result of use of the canoe, I would consider having language that encumbers his or her estate to defend the foundation and the city. I am not an attorney, and these are only suggestions. I would consult an attorney on any other changes you make.
I don't know about the last one about encumbering the estate, but I think the other ones are reasonable for us to make. I don't want to get sued for this, do you?
No. No. So, can you email them, Keith, a requirement that they
Ken is here.
Oh,
We're talking about the canoe right now.
come up here and state your name for the record.
Ken Forcier, how are you today?
Good.
Sorry, I missed something. I thought this session was at later this evening, at 7 or something. But
There
here
is
now.
There is
I'm in-
another. That's our regular session. This is our work session.
Okay.
Yep.
We're working on stuff.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
So we were just talking about the canoe, and as far as the waiver that you guys have, there's some issues with that. As far as I think you might have heard Matt say. Can you kind of reread that in this?
Some language needs to be.
Yes.
Right. We need to
tweaked.
adjust it.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, let me just say that this is the 11th year that the canoe has been going out without mishap, and really the fundamentals haven't changed here this year either. It is the same form that's been used in years past, and while there may be a new insurer representing this year that's taking a look once again at this waiver and wanting to make some adjustments.
It's also a new entity. It belongs to the city now, and it
Well,
didn't
but
before.
fundamentally the actual canoe hasn't changed, and the act of it going
Yeah.
out and representing.
Well,
the St.
you're absolutely right. But
All we're talking about is changing some language, just
Exactly.
adding to it.
Exactly, and this piece of paper doesn't really need to come into the considerations about the canoe going out this year. It just needs to be made available before the canoe does go out, with whatever adjustments it is that you want in the language. It's just a waiver. Anybody's going to sign it that wants to go in the
Right.
canoe.
And we're talking about other concerns too. Keith says that it needs maintenance before it goes out, and we're wondering who's going to.
I did discuss that with Keith earlier, about a month back, and there was talk of spar varnish and maybe some epoxy repair to an ongoing but not critical crack in the upper surface of the artwork of the boat. And I did say that if we were able to get hold of that canoe the Thursday before the event at Running Dogs on 17th on Father's Day, if we could get hold of that canoe on Thursday before, and I don't know exactly what day that is now. Do you know what day Thursday is, June 14th? Then we have 3 days, and we can easily put on 3 coats of spar varnish, if that's what you're suggesting, and also address that repair on the crack on the front. I think those were the 2 issues, were they not?
Yeah.
And you said you may have some spar varnish, but then I think you also made reference to where to get it, and hopefully the city would provide it and we could apply it. When I say we, it's Bill and myself, and we've already talked about that. Bill is quite skilled and has done this operation before already. Not as skilled as you, he says, Keith, but schooled in it. And I'm also an accomplished painter and applicator of spar varnishes and boat finishes and that sort of thing myself. So the 2 of us are happy to get the boat seaworthy in that respect with the protective agents. It's also worth noting that it was only done 2 years ago, and it's not really reaching any kind of a critical point right now. It's just something that you do as a maintenance.
Right, this is sort of maintenance.
Right, right.
just
It's not like it's not
keeps it from
seaworthy
getting
as it
worse.
is. Right, right. So it's an ongoing maintenance procedure to apply spar varnish every couple of years, and it was done 2 years back. There's no leakage in the
Yeah.
bottom of the bone or soft spots or any issues with it right now.
So we as a city have to look out for our citizens and our insurance. We will need to protect our rear ends.
Of course.
And we are asking you to look at some language in that contract, and we understand that maybe it was Chris down. What's his last name?
Iverson.
Is it? Yeah.
Iverson. Yeah.
It was down the road here at the end of the street that originally drew that up. He used to be part of the foundation. Might be able to go to him and talk to him, but the other.
No, you're talking about.
I'm
We're
talking
gonna
about.
take the
No.
document that was provided.
Yes.
And the language that Chris is talking about and give it to our attorney.
Yes.
That just hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that?
And if
So-
that can be made available, the launch date is the 22nd. And if that can just be made available before the 22nd, it's a waiver that people that want to, that will be signing up ostensibly on the 17th at the fundraiser at Running Dogs. Passengers will be signing up on a sign-up list and they will be made aware of that waiver. It would actually be ideal to have it that day, but they can also sign it before the boat launches, which is,
Okay.
according to the itinerary, the 22nd.
Is this something Cindy could look at? Is this something Cindy is capable of? Definitely needs to be in-house to be speedy.
Ken, do we have did you find out whether or not the canoe was in the river from here to Astoria or not, or, you know, what that schedule is yet?
For this year's itinerary?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was intended to travel the river to Astoria, yes, is what I understood.
Well, what was the time frame on that? Do you remember?
I don't have the itinerary with me today. I rushed out.
Says-
But it was not on the itinerary.
Says, starts out with Beacon Rock, Washington.
Yep.
On June 24th, then arrives in Astoria July 11th, and there are a bunch of places in between and after.
I know it's here on the 4th of July. And then I believe the next stop, if I remember correctly, was, it was.
Rainier.
Rainier, you're right. And then it went on to somewhere down near Claskenai, but it wasn't Claskenai.
Cap Limit?
I think it might have been.
Says
either
Mager and then
Alton
Cap Limit.
Mager or Mager, okay, something like
We
that.
just got a email, was it, I don't know if that was from Willow, no, that was actually from Messire, but wasn't it about Willow too, about the canoe?
Yep.
Traveling with the Native American canoes?
Yep, 17th and the 18th or something like that of July.
Yeah, they want to visit and camp at 18, 19, and now 20.
And that's not on here, because you don't come back till July 23rd,
Oh,
according to this.
that's different than this timeline then.
Yeah.
So it won't even be here, it'll be gone?
Huh?
What date are they returning?
It'll be in two places at once.
Yeah.
According to
July
schedule.
23rd.
I guess I was mistaken on that.
No, I thought they were going to, I thought they were too.
Yeah,
That's a different date.
Your Wheeler week at Wheeler is not probably going to work out with everything that you guys have intended for that canoe.
I don't know anything about the itinerary other than I submitted it to you. And once it's in Wheeler or headed to Wheeler, it's on a trailer, and it's just a matter of trailering it to where it needs to be for the dates that it wants to make.
Okay.
So I don't think there's any problem if there's some issue with the itinerary being fuzzy. I'm sure there's no issue with getting the canoe to where it needs to be
'Cause
for
you-
its appointments.
Yeah.
My only issue is enough people in the canoe every day.
We'll sign up the people on the 17th. I think it's going to be a big year. I don't expect there to be a problem with too few people. Perhaps some people will get bumped for lack of room.
Well, it's in the past years, it's been less people each year. I just know that.
Well, this year we're having a big rowacious party at Running Dogs, and we're going to
Alright.
sign people up, and you members of council, of course, will be given first consideration for rides in the boat.
I want to drive it.
Absolutely.
I don't want to ride in it. I want to drive it.
Absolutely.
Drive
It's a joke.
You paddle a canoe.
Dang it.
Sit in
And
the
you
back
will
and
be
steer.
paddle.
And you can go every day if you want. In fact,
No.
I
Or for the
prefer
whole
it.
trip.
No.
That would be good.
Yes,
No.
that'd be very good.
Start to finish.
Be a good trip.
Is
for you.
anyone going start to finish?
I know that
Besides Bill?
Bill
Uh-oh.
will.
Besides Bill, in addition to Bill.
I don't know if there's anybody that ambitious. I think he cycles through his passengers, and nobody does the full trip. Most people dedicate a weekend or maybe even a week if they're stoic. And it's camping, riverside, and it's not something that everybody wants to do for a month or more. Bill does a lot of work to get the canoe out there and to spread the word about the canoe and St. Helens. And it's not all fun and games. It's a lot of work to get that canoe where it goes and to find the people to join him, as you mentioned. He's putting the word out everywhere he goes and signing up new passengers, and it's an amazing effort on his part. And I think it would be nice if something could be done to show our appreciation for what he does every year. I know he's looking for a new captain to take over his place so that but he's not going to let the canoe just sit fallow. He's going to be there for it as long as there's nobody else to take his place.
Yes.
But I mean, he does an amazing job each year, and he should be recognized for that.
Appreciate that. Yep. So you happen to show up at the right time. We got to get a little more language looked at, and we'll be in touch.
Great.
Do you want to? Do you have his contact information? Yeah. Okay.
So what I heard, though, more or less, is the itinerary. What? Some question on towards the end about being in two places.
I think Willow's double booking it, is what I think.
Okay.
Grand Ron Indians want you here the 18th, 19th, 20th.
18th, 19th, 20th. Okay, we'll look into that.
Just for point of interest on that 18th and 19th, that's gonna
13 nights.
There's 13 nights.
Right.
They're going in the gravel, or they ain't going to be here.
They were in the park last time.
Yeah, no, but they can't be in the park for 13 nights. There's no way that's going to fly. Absolutely not. We'll never hear the end of it.
It's not my place to talk about.
We'll all be recalled.
Well, maybe you could have them put the show on.
I think it's already booked.
Yeah.
But no, that's the only conflict is that the Grand Ron, we're hoping to meet up with the canoe on the 18th through the 20th and camp here.
Okay.
And then we have a conflict with 13 nights. It's already booked. The park is already taken up for 13 nights.
Like
So-
no room for parking, for camping anywhere out there.
Not on the park. Not in the park.
Not in
itself.
the park itself.
Oh.
Out that way.
But
yes.
out in the gravel.
Yeah. We got plenty of land out there for a year and a half.
Lots of land, just not on the grass
County's
that
got a whole
day.
parking lot there.
Excellent. Well,
Paved and everything.
Thank you very much
Yep.
for alerting me that that this was being discussed earlier than I thought. I appreciate you.
Yes.
You caught me in time.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, department reports. Terry.
Well, as I don't have a SDC waiver or a lot line adjustment to talk about, I feel like I'm in the wrong room. But I think the only thing on your agenda tonight that's related to the police department is the residential incentive program. Kathy's prepared a resolution for your approval. I just want you to know that there's been some interest generated over the last several days. So this is going to be a real positive thing for the city and the police department. So I'm excited about it, and I'm looking forward to your approval. We'll get that moving. I have nothing else to talk about today.
Okay.
I think, Terry, that'd be a good trip for you to go down the Columbia River in a canoe.
You think so?
Yeah.
I thought about it for about that long. It'd be kind of fun, but
you can take your fishing pole.
Yeah, I'm the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Sue.
No.
How about you, Sue?
No, I don't want to go down the river in the canoe. No, I did get some news this last week that a grant that we had applied for through the Regional Disaster Preparedness Organization for a portable water filtration facility, not the water distribution truck that we already have, but a portable water filtration facility. We were awarded that grant. It's worth $135,000. Wow. It's a very high-tech little water facility on a trailer, and well, it's not.
But then we'll have two.
Real little. Well, the other one's a distribution.
Right,
It doesn't
yes.
actually filter
Right,
the water. This will
exactly,
be
yeah.
able to. Yeah, this
We
will
can
be able
filter
to
it before we
provide-
give it out.
Exactly. It's.
Bring it to Salem sometime.
Yeah, we'll have to bring it to Salem. It is portable. It is for the region, but it will be housed at the city of St. Helens. Although we were awarded the grant, the funding won't be available until next year, and the trailer will take approximately a year to prepare to bring it here, so we won't have it for at least 18 months. But it was really good news. We were really happy to get that award. They actually reduced the amount of the grants that they were providing this year, and so they had to fight quite a bit in order to get that over here. So it was really good news.
So, speaking of that,
Mhm.
and our water distribution trailer,
Mhm.
there's probably some equipment in there that would probably be a good idea to get out and run and use so that we know that it's going to work when we need it.
We do.
They-
At least once a year.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Try to set it up, take it out. They did some other things with some of it.
Run the generator and all that. Okay. Good job.
That's such a
And the portable trailer, the water filtration has the ability to filter 30,000 gallons a day. So it's
Wow.
pretty high capacity.
That's a
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is quite a bit. So we're really happy. That's all I have.
Neil, how about you?
One little quick feel-good story. Saturday, we had a water leak over on North 7th Street, and the guys worked over there for about 4 hours to fix that. This nice little girl, about 9 years old, made them a really beautiful card, told them how wonderful they were, and how great it was that we saved the city. And I gave that to Crystal, 'cause she was going to put it on social media stuff.
Nice.
You guys did a good job. That was kind of cute.
Nice.
Awesome. Matt?
Just a couple things on, since our last meeting, the court department. We did interviews for our city judge, who Cindy Phillips contracts retire. Our ending date is June 30th. The committee did select 2 people that were the favorites out of the 4 that were interviewed. And we would like to move forward with negotiations on a contract. Her name is Amy Lindgren. She came in today actually and met with the current judge, sat through a couple hearings that we had, as well as talking with the current staff about some updates, changes, and efficiency improvements that she's hoping to instill when she begins. The second place person we'd like to offer the position of the city prosecutor. His name is Sam. He is, they're both from Portland. And he came as a recommendation from the DA's office across the street. So that kind of helps build the relationship between the 2 offices as well. So as I start kind of working on those contracts for you to approve and actually hire them, hopefully at the next meeting, if not in July, I wanted to double check with the council that they were okay with the offering for the contract as far as term limits. What I was considering and kind of looking for a consensus of understanding was to put into their contract as 1-year terms with a 1-year extension if it's agreed upon both parties if they want to continue. So this moves away from the 30-day, 90-day kind of do I have a job every 90 days kind of thing that we had in our past for our past judge and prosecutor. So I just wanted to make sure that as we start putting out those negotiations for that contract, that the council was on board with those 1 term with an extension limits. Was that acceptable for the city council if I start to work on those contracts?
It is for me.
One term being 1 year?
Correct, 1 year. So it would end June 30th of 2019, and then with a possible for
Considering
a 1 year
these are new people, I would even recommend 2 years.
That's what I was going to recommend, Keith.
Well, we're still looking at restructuring, so I would lean towards
Gotta give
1
these
year.
people a chance.
That's what I was going to recommend.
Well, 1 year with 1 year renewal, that would be 2 years.
Well, you don't have to renew it.
2 years. 2 years would be the fiscal budget too coming up, right? Would that be close
Yeah.
enough? Close enough to fall within that? I would really like. That's what I was thinking too. That's funny that you said that number.
I'll put whatever you guys want. You just tell me what you guys want.
Compromise 2 years with a 1-year extension. Who knows? I don't know.
I just hate somebody coming up on that year and getting that anxiety, and a year goes by so fast. Let's put it that
What have you talked about with them? What are they? What have they accept? What have they?
Well, now
when Amy
What's
came
your
in today, I briefly talked about doing a 1 year with a 1 year extension.
And she was okay with that?
She seemed okay with that.
Okay.
But if we want to offer 2, that's up to the council. This is your contract to sign on and approve from. So
How about Sam? Did you discuss that with him?
it was the same thing. I said I would like
Said
to do
1
a 1 year, but it's up to the council to approve and ultimately decide if they want to hire you or not. So I'm just kind of the intermediary facilitator.
Well, your department too, so I think.
Well, John's department actually, but
Okay.
Well, I don't mind the 1 year because it could coincide with their annual report. You know, because they come here and report annually, and there's been some issues with those annual reports with the courts, and so I think that if it coincides with their annual report, it gives the council a good indication of what's happening. Maybe I think that could work very effectively.
It doing a 1 year never doesn't mean that you couldn't come back in that year two and say, hey, we really like you, we want to do a 2-year contract with
You're
a 1 year
exactly
extension. So this does give the city flexibility if it doesn't work out, or if the council's not happy with something that is or isn't going on.
It gives the council, I think, a little more meat in terms of looking at that position after 1 year, really looking at it and listening to that report. I just think that that's important. And you can do anything you want after that. I mean, you could extend it to 5 years. You can do whatever.
Correct. One other thing pertaining to the courts as well is through our discussions with the county, we've reached out to National Center for State Courts, which is in Denver, Colorado, and they have consultants that actually go out and review court processes around counties, states, municipalities. So we reached out to them because they were the ones who actually reviewed the state courts across the street, and to get their ideas of what it would take for them to come in and look at our municipality to see if there's any deficiency or improvements that we can make on our end. We asked for them just to kind of give us a general proposal, an idea of what they would come in and do. They have sent that back to me. The cost estimate is about $13,000. It's roughly for a consultant to come out for a couple days, talk with staff, do their review, and then come back to you with a report on any recommendations on efficiency or improvements that would be made. I have let the incoming prosecutor and the judge know about this study and that you may be considering moving forward with this. When Amy was here today before she left, she would like to throw out her opinions just from reading the proposal and after talking with staff today and the judge. Her recommendation was to wait on doing the study until after Sam and her come in. Amy, from just talking with staff today, has already seen a few ideas and rollings of efficiency and improvements that she would like to make initially. Her idea was to do this study after she has made those changes and improvements, and then to get their opinion on where the court is at that moment. She thinks doing a study and spending $13,000 now, when she's already going to come in July and August and make the changes that she wants to make in processes and maybe go down to 1 day at court and kind of work those changes through on her end. It may be premature and almost kind of a waste of money to do the study now instead of 6 months from now or 8 months from now when she's more into the position. She's done some of those initial changes. So I liked that idea, but obviously this is
No, I think it's smart too. I want to hang on to the idea of bringing somebody in for the assessment because I believe in assessments. I think we need to look at what we're doing and how we're doing it and what we could improve on and whether we're in line with other courts. But I think it's smart to wait until after she has a chance to work at it for a while.
Is that a kind of a general consensus?
The year's fine with me and all that you talked about, yes.
Great. On a cool note, with Terry's comments about the program that's on the docket for tonight for approval, we do already have one officer who has written a letter of interest to start the program. He is anxiously waiting approval of the program because I guess he has already put an offer on the house. Hoping that this program is going to be passed tonight and we can start working toward him being kind of the first person to see how this rolls out. So there's already a definite interest right away for this program.
Good.
Never mind.
One other thing that I did want to talk about, I'll try not to take too much longer to talk about, the recreation program that we've started here. It started in June. We've had some very successful events thus far. The movie night in the park that we had last Saturday was a great success. And next month, when we do our next movie, it will be, I think, even better and bigger with some of the ideas and things that we're going to do to grow that program, as well as all the other programs that we're starting to do. But I did want to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as a recreation department, or whether it's called Parks and Rec down the road or whatever. I want to make sure that everybody understands that this recreation program is strictly a program that falls under what we've been talking about as far as John and I, is that it is a program that falls under the administration department for right now. It is completely separate from the Parks Department, has nothing to do with that other than we may use park facilities during some of those events. But we wanted to make very clear that this is a separate program. That's the intention, and from now on we want to make sure we call it a recreation program. It's not Parks and Rec, just to make sure that there's no miscommunications and crosshairs. On that note, we've had discussions in the past about the Farah building. Obviously, we had them come in, provide some information about how much and what they're all doing. One idea that we've kind of come into, Sean and I have come into looking at, is with some of the events that we're looking on doing now and even in the future, we use school facilities for a lot of events that we're going to be taking on. When the school season, when we're planning stuff for the summertime, that's great because there's no kids in school. We can use the classrooms, we can use the cafeteria. When school begins in this next program and through as we grow this program, we may not have access to as many of the classrooms and facilities that we may. We would like to still use the school as much as we can because of that partnership. However, a Farah building, it creates a unique opportunity for the recreation program to look at using that facility as a recreation facility that is run by the city. And I would like to see if the council is okay if Shauna and I go over, look at the building, maybe with Roger from Public Works and John or one or two of you, to kind of look at that facility, see what its current state is in, and come back to you at the next council meeting or in July to discuss what we could do with that building, how much it would cost to upkeep, maintain, staff that building. Is obviously, if we have a rec program with stuff going on, you need staff there. So we'd like to kind of talk and work through those questions, but I didn't want to go any more forward if the council wasn't open to that idea of using the Farah building for a recreation
I've
facility.
always been open to it.
Me too.
So, back to this one thing though, on the administrative part of the rec program. Now, when we go to administrate on the service fee, water bill, Parks and Rec, because it's going to pay for Parks
Correct.
and Rec and potentially the library, right? Part of that halftime position, which is part of the Parks and Rec, kind of coincides with all that.
Correct. That would be part of the discussion and
So
the eventual open
it's
forum
kind of
that we
like
have.
it's a recreation program. So when I say that's Parks and Recreation and Library,
Parks, comma, recreation, comma.
library, comma, $2 fee. Is that how that's going to work?
I think there's probably going to be a lot more discussion of what its named is and the purpose and the
You see where
budget.
I'm going with that,
Yeah,
though?
the purpose when the budget committee of it was to secure a dedicated funding source for recreation and parks maintenance. That was the intent of what the budget committee approved in their $2 fee. Now, I know Doug had mentioned opening, and I think the council agreed to do an open forum in the future about this rec program, what it means, what the potential future of it being even a district, or even those thoughts of and ideas that we're kind of having right now. But what that specific name is on the utility bill for that fee, I think is very much a discussion point for a later time.
Okay. Anything else, Matt? I'm just wondering if we should order dinner. We don't have to be back here at 6.
I know I heard from.
Two of us said yes. Go
Yeah,
for it.
two of you said yes to being open to the idea of the fair building, and like I said, I would like to
Excited about the idea.
come back to you at the meeting with a better structure and framework of what we could potentially do with it, and then you would be able to decide if you want to do that or not.
Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe potential there for them to lease half the building too, or part of the half the time, or what, however, a shared lease agreement with Fair, because they're getting it ridiculously cheap.
Yeah.
So it's all
See what
open.
there is and whether we can use it.
Yep. All right, Kathy.
I want to go back to the waiver of the SCCs and what it is that you want for tonight.
I think what we wanted was, correct me if I'm wrong, just the misinformation on the 15 or 16 plex was basically it.
To get the numbers on that?
Yes, to get the numbers on that.
Sue.
Is that possible?
Okay.
Okay.
So they've got sounds like they have some documentation that a long time ago there was a second house on what was now that vacant lot, which would provide them some additional legal credits that they can use. So potentially that fee that they quoted today would be closer to the true fee, or even maybe slightly lower than what their actual request for waiver would be.
Okay.
So she's just trying to get that documentation
Okay.
all put together.
All right.
And, well, it would apply towards the transportation. They haven't provided that information yet, but someone was going to look up the transportation fee and try to get something to us, but now they would have 2 credits to go towards that, which would go a long, long way, I think,
I know they
in
were-
helping to wipe that.
Just because I was
control.
involved, they were looking for some leniency because they didn't feel that probably anybody that was staying there would own a car, possibly.
Well, I understand that probably not many residents would have one, but
Right.
there'd
be a few,
But just
yes.
because somebody doesn't own a car doesn't mean trips are not generated
Right.
by having that. Trips are generated by the mailman, the garbage man, a delivery person.
Right.
Any number of things goes into trip generation. It's not just the number of vehicles that live there. A taxi, an Uber car picking somebody up because they got to go somewhere. A CC Rider. Those are all trips that are generated by facilities of
Yes.
whatever type. So it's not just the number of cars that are there; it's the number of units and what the population that those units or that facility caters to generates different numbers of trips. And so that's what they need to provide some documentation to help us understand what that impact's going to be. But now it looks like they'll have 2 single-family dwelling homes that they can use as credits, which should help to lower that particular item. So I'm going to go see what they got.
Okay. So Kathy, what we want is we also wanted Ginny here too, basically, because Keith had to recuse himself. So we wanted to.
Is that something you want me to add to the agenda, or is that something you guys want to
This table, can we table it to tonight? Is that kind of how we did it,
like,
right?
Put it under, I just need to know if I need to amend the agenda, or is it something that, I just answered it.
Yeah.
It's something you guys can discuss.
We can just put it under council reports, can't we?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I.
Since
Yep.
we're gonna delay those anyway, so.
Any other things? No? Okay, Tina? We're way behind, so try to be speedy.
Tina Curry, Event Management. I just wanted to give you a quick update. I'm not going to go into some of the other information that I found because Jenny isn't here. That has to do with parking. I went to every business downtown, found out how many employees they have that are parking down here, and I think that there's a really pretty simple solution to the whole thing. But I don't want to do it without Jenny here. I just want to let you guys know, you counselors know, that I have finished pretty much finished the map that is being co-sponsored by Cascadia Home Loans, and it's been a long process, but we are hoping we have no mistakes. And that indeed we're having fireworks for 4th of July, and Steve and Judy will be ringing the bells. So I'm hoping he knows there's fireworks and bell ringing. We have a lot of music going on, and we have some activities going on that Judy is doing in the park with the veterans. And we're going to move them down to the grassy area so that they're more involved, because they're kind of left out over here. I don't like that.
Walk by, yep.
And Judy is getting cake again, so people can have a slice of cake. We are also in the midst of raising money for 4th of July through the Raising Your Voice for Fireworks Challenge. I know the mayor has been challenged with Scott Burge. And it might be kind of fun to have the council all singing on the steps. Throwing out a little challenge.
I plan to respond with not singing.
Then you got to
They
pay
will
up.
appreciate it. I will.
You got to pay money.
Got to wait for another payday.
And then I also wanted to just ask you a quick question. There's a lot of nonprofits, not a lot. There's some nonprofits and there's some groups that want to have access to the audience that comes for 13 nights, at no charge. And I have other nonprofit groups that pay to be there, and I think that we should probably make a policy before we get too far along this. But think about that for next time. I'll put it on the table for what we might come up with for a solution. And any questions? Okay.
Nope. Hit machine tomorrow night.
All right.
Right? 6:30? Are you playing at 4:30, Matt? Yeah. Okay. But hit machine hits at 6:30 tomorrow night. Okay. All right. So, John?
Okay. Seems time to get this hour of the meeting. I feel compelled to rush, but
I know. It's,
Maybe we could do council reports later, and so that'll make it the last one.
We're
Okay.
very happy to have our new building official aboard. He's getting orientated, and seems to be very solution orientated, and under that auspice of business friendly, it appears that things are going to work out real well. I touched on this Build America grant that we're going after, and it's a pretty extensive effort, being a federal grant, and we've enlisted some help with that. It's Alta Planning and Design. They're a national firm that has a really good success rate in obtaining these types of grants. But some of the discussion, because it's transportation oriented, it has a lot of very detailed metrics. And the boardwalk in itself, the boardwalk is the catalytic project, but the ability to connect other transportation pieces on the site is also about potentially fundable, as is the ferry discussion. And there is currently, come to find out through this exercise, there's a conversation between a Portland to Vancouver, Washington commuter ferry, passenger ferry, that's going on, that also has included Lake Oswego as a potential port of call. And they asked us if St. Helens makes a lot of sense to be as part of that commuting track. And it's very preliminary, but there's a group actively working on this.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
What do you think about St. Helens as being having a commuter ferry?
Yes, please.
And, so I thought that might be something to share. That is very preliminary, but it's certainly possible. The downside of putting all this resource into this grant application is that a few weeks ago I had brought forward this Milton Creek Trail proposal that through the Regional Trails Oregon Park and Rec Department. We've actually have a funding proposal in there already for this year. We were funded last year. The likelihood of us being funded again for a project, the 2 projects in 1 year, is probably pretty low. So I want to cut that sandbag off the balloon to float some capacity to be able to spend more resources on this. And I think just from a pragmatic standpoint and the practicality of reviewing, I think it's probably a good decision, and I hope you support that. We touched on the dock use regulations earlier, and real high level on the concepts. Some of more of the meat of it. I wanted to talk about the 5 days and 30 days piece of that. If there's a desire to change that, it seems like people that game the system can stay pretty much 10 days in a row if they want to, and is that a good amount? Or it's not a calendar month, or it is a calendar month, and it's not a rolling 30 days type thing. So, is it rolling? I think.
Are you sure?
I think okay. Oh, I read it here just a little bit ago, and I thought it said calendars, or people stack it on the ends of the month. But
You can stay, yeah.
yeah,
We should be able to find.
okay. Okay, well, I'll relook at that. But I'm pretty sure it was a calendar. And is there a lesser amount or a better number than 5 days at a time? I mean, it seems like a fairly long stay.
Or just a 30-day span. Yeah.
That'd be 10 days if you took it at the end of the month and the beginning of the next
I
month.
mean, most of a recreational boater is probably going to spend a weekend. I don't think they're going to come to St. Helens for
Well, could we possibly
a
get
week
away
or possibly 10 days.
Couldn't we possibly get away from this anyhow with that $2 fee? I mean, if they're paying $2, that would be my question to you. Would be with the $2 fee or the checking in with
So
Brad?
the fee and code of conduct and proof of license is going to help, but there's still people that will come and meet those minimum requirements.
$2 is still real cheap.
Yeah.
To come and stay the night.
Yeah, I'm okay with going. What do you want to go? 4 days a month?
I certainly don't like it. I don't like the way that's written. Not at all.
Rewrite.
The 5 calendar day period shall begin with the first hour of the vessel is tied. Not to exceed 10.
Okay, they can't move from dock to dock.
So people come either at the end of a month and they stay 5 days, and
then they can stay another 5 days.
They can stay 5 more days, pretty much if they disconnect and reconnect.
So was the thought on that is like someone coming from out of town, like Portland, coming down here for a weekend, and that would mean that they would be down here, well, Friday night and Saturday night, okay, 2 nights. Then they'd come down the next weekend. They liked it so much, they come down the next weekend. There's 2 more. Then they'd come down the next weekend. There's 2 more. So was that why it went up to 10?
Maybe
you
we
think?
need to talk about consecutive days. No, it does.
I can't speak to why.
It does say continuous.
What the thought process
Yeah.
was
What
going into
what
that,
ends
but-
up being is that I think so, something like that. But what happens is people just tie their boats up and leave them there for 10 days.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And because you can't go down, you catch them and they say, "Oh yeah, I moved it," or "I just came back and tied it the same," or whatever. They use some excuse, and so
Well, it needs to be occupied, and that word "occupied" needs to be in there. So
well, I know, but they always give an excuse for that though.
And it is. If you read
Oh,
down,
there
if
is.
you-
I know-
yeah, if you
I
read
know.
down
You know,
through it,
Yeah,
it's hard,
it is in there.
It's hard to say how really enforce the occupied. I mean, they come in here and they go to the Klondike for dinner. The boat's not occupied. They
Right.
give them a ticket because they went to dinner.
when it's we all know that it's being used as a moorage, temporary moorage.
Right.
And,
The ticket's going to help a lot, and it isn't like it's not a real problem yet. It's just a matter of they got to keep it under control though.
perhaps it's something that comes out through the code of conduct or the agreeing to follow the city regulations, that you don't get a permit if you don't
Right.
comply with the regulations.
That would be the thing, do it, because you're right, if they don't comply, then it's in their record, so they don't get the permit the next time.
But is 5 days a good number? Or do we care? I mean,
5 days per month, would you say?
This is 5
This is 10
continuous
that's
calendar
five-
days,
yeah.
not to exceed 10 calendar days per calendar month. 5 continuous, so if they tacked on another 5, that would be 10 continuous. And
They
they
can
can't
be-
do
they
10
can-
continuous, they can only do 5. So they shouldn't be able to do that.
Right. I guess from my perspective, if it's somebody that's a recreational boater coming to St. Helens to visit and enjoy the community for the weekend, I don't really, that's great,
Yeah.
I don't know why we'd want to cap that, but on the other end of it, we have people that just kind of use it as mortgage space and can take advantage of it.
Well,
They're not.
$2, that would only be $10 for 5 nights. That's a pretty cheap mortgage.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really cheap mortgage.
Yeah, but then they have to find more moorage at the end of 5 days.
It's not an easy question, and we don't need to answer it today, but I think I'd like you to think about that. So, because it is a net. To the extent voters can visit and have a good experience, they're more likely to come back, and I think that's what we're trying to attract. We're not trying to attract the vagrants who want to come and game the system. But, it's a very tough balance. I know a lot of the docks are really having a problem with it. So.
Yes, they are.
I think that's all I had.
Okay.
There's more, but.
All right, council, you just want to report later?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and adjourn. We'll take just a quick break, and we have to go into executive session. We'll let Kathy get the camera off.